Welcome to the podcast, Eye for Talent, the show where we've got an eye for talent. I'm your host, Dylan, aka DJ Cereal Sauce. I'm a YouTube content creator, occasional Twitch streamer, and producer, the big three. And joining me is another YouTube content creator, another Twitch streamer, and also, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, soon to be, in air quotes, game dev. Welcome back to the show, Dumpster Man. How are you doing, man? What's new?
Oh no, that's a lot of pressure on the soon-to-be game dev part. Oh, that is something I'm dabbling in, but it's not a great time for that because I've put it on hold for other stuff that I have to get done. But the goal is still to finish something by the end of the year.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I appreciate the vote of confidence.
I know a ton of people trying to get into game dev right now, and 2 out of 3 of them are ones that I annoyingly went to them and said, "Hey, if you need music for this, I've got you." And then the first guy straight up dropped the game dev thing. And when I talked to one of his friends about it, he just went, "Yeah, he kind of does that a lot."
I think you posted like a song that you had made in my Discord, and I think I came to you and said like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing music for this?" And then now I have not like worked on that project at all since. So
you know what? That actually
that's a me problem, not a you problem.
You know, I'm glad to know that that's actually how that happened. On one hand, it does make me look like a bit of a self-promo shitbag by like going into people's chats and just self-promoting myself. But at least I didn't come to you and was like, "Hey, I saw you were doing a thing about game dev. You didn't ask for music, but I'm gonna point it to you anyways."
I think you just posted it like out of the blue, and I just liked it, and I was like, "This sounds like it would fit the thing that I was doing at the time," which is no longer a thing that I'm. Well, I don't. It's not like dead, but I need to rein in my scope a lot of times. Like sometimes I'm like, this idea would be super cool and really simple, and then like a week later, I'm like, oh god, it has ballooned into a freakish monster that I am not capable of finishing.
Was not as simple as I thought. My bad. I'll come back to you later.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's been fun. I think the trouble really, and like, it makes me respect indie game devs so much more, is that it's hard to commit the amount of time that would need to go into that to actually make like a final product of a game without like any sort of economic incentive. And like I've obviously like I'm doing, you know, my life is YouTube streaming and on the side like freelance work. So I'm not like making a ton of money doing this. But like it's hard to be like, okay, I'm gonna spend 8 hours a day like watching Godot tutorials and making game art for nothing instead of doing what makes me even just like a little money. And it's kind of sad, but it is just the reality.
Yeah, that's I remember hearing a similar sentiment like that from, I think it was like it was like a YouTube producer that I follow, where he basically said something like, right now it's really hard for anybody to want to learn a new skill when the amount of time it takes you to learn that skill enough to be good at it, to be like happy with the product that you've made. You make no money while you're doing that. So it's like, why would I bother doing that when I could go do something else that I'm already doing that does make me money? So I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah. I mean, even being able to do like YouTube and streaming like a little bit as my job, like, you know, air quotes, like I guess I don't really need to qualify it because I don't have full-time employment, and at least part of what I do is YouTube. But the only reason I was able to do that was because it just like kind of popped off right around when I got out of the career that I used to work in, which was architecture. And I just was like, man, maybe I just do this for a little while. And then a little while turned into a few years at this point.
And now
but yeah, and then also having like kind of on and off freelance work that helps pay the bills when when YouTube is slow. So
oh yeah, no, exactly.
Which it is right now because I'm taking, you know, a month to work on a fucking video, 2-hour video.
Yeah, big ass project o'clock means I don't have my consistent stream of stuff to put out there that will make me anything.
Yeah, I'm trying like I have like I guess a second channel, but really it's a third channel where I'm trying to like post more to. But yeah, I think the future of my main channel is just making bigger videos less often, which is a little scary, but it's just what I want to do. So
yeah, I guess the idea is that if that ends up succeeding, then you can turn into one of those YouTubers that just kind of does that. Like I was talking with
Yeah.
somebody once. I don't know who the hell it was or even who they were referencing, but they were talking about that like archetype of content creator that makes one video like a month or less than that, once every 2 months, once every quarter of the year or whatever. But then it brings in the big bucks and it gets like insane traction because of just the quality of it or whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not the reason why I'm sort of making that pivot, but I did last year since we talked. In fact, I think right after, maybe a month after that last time we did a podcast together, I uploaded an Elden Ring video. It was like an hour and a half long, and I think now it has over 1 million views. And this isn't like to toot my own horn or anything, but like because I never expected that. I was used to releasing Dark Souls videos that would be among my least viewed. And then for randomly this Elden Ring video popped off. And I'm not gonna sit here and like say, oh, it made this much or whatever, but like, goddamn. When you make 1 million views on YouTube, that's a different world.
Yeah.
In money from getting what a good video for me is maybe like 15-20K, like right in the ballpark of how many subscribers I have. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But 1 million views, I'm like, damn, the people who are putting out a video a month getting 1 million views, they're making pretty good money.
And especially
so
for
I
it to
was
be
like,
the thing that's in
I
a
did
bigger
that. I had
niche.
that once in a year, and I was like able to build a new computer and like and shit like that. Put a bunch of money in savings, and I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is a new world.
The fucking the big stick, big dick anchor build basically was life changing in a sense.
Yeah. And then I released another Elden Ring video, and it got 2,000 views. So you never know. I think. I don't know. I mean, I was not under any like notion that I was like, well, I had an Elden Ring video do well now. I'm gonna make Elden Ring content now. It's like I never did that really with Ultra Kill. I mean, I did have Ultra Kill videos do well, and then I did make more Ultra Kill content, but I was never like, all right, this is my whole thing now, which YouTube hates.
Yeah.
YouTube does not like when you don't chase what does well in the algorithm.
Yeah.
So I was punished for it.
They're like, we heard this was your thing.
At this point, I'm very used to that.
They were like, we heard this is your thing, and then you didn't do it, and they were like, why would you? What are you, stupid?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then it's like, since then, like Ultra Kill content has done fine, but since that video popped off, like the Ultra Kill stuff that I've uploaded has been just fine, like not like amazing. So who knows? YouTube works in mysterious ways.
I mean, it would be cool.
I'll just say that was kind of the wake up call that I was like, okay, from now on, I should just make videos that I want to make, and let's hope for the best, I guess. Because what else can you do?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you've built yourself up as a person who plays weird games and plays them wrong, as your title implies.
Yeah. Even that doesn't paint the whole picture, but yeah, I like it. It sounds good.
The point is that like I don't know how people get away with just strictly being a variety content creator, I suppose. But at the very
pain
least,
tolerance.
That's not exactly what I meant,
really.
but it's fair. What was the point I was trying to make? Oh, the point is like it. At the very least, it's like you can, like, sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. At the very least, you are like it at least seems like you're relying a little bit less on luck when variety content does well because of the fact that you are first and foremost, like, a variety content creator, like, persona first, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, at some point you can't like really control what someone who comes to your channel because they clicked on an Ultra Kill video and then just like kept getting fed Ultra Kill videos will think you are. Or, same thing for like, obviously I didn't in the wake of that Elden Ring video then make a ton of Elden Ring videos, but like same thing for that, like someone might watch that video and just be like, that's probably all this guy does, right?
And then they look and they're
click
like,
on my channel.
Or
click on my channel and be like, oh, and then immediately leave, which honestly is kind of what happened. Because I've experienced like no growth in interest on the channel for like Souls or Elden Ring in the wake of my most viewed video ever, because I just didn't have a lot of that kind of content
Yeah.
already for people to kind of go back through and watch. Which I understand. I mean, I get that. That's my own issue to navigate. But yeah, I mean, it happens like that. But yeah, getting used to that type of thing.
No, that whole thing about like taking a break from uploading a bunch of shit all the time on YouTube to make this really big, long video, that actually was something that I was thinking about just the other day and had written down, which is like, that's a thing that I've noticed. It's a thing that you've talked about a handful of times, and a lot of people have very clearly seen it in the content that's being made, namely with stuff like the hour-long Elden Ring video and, like Gloomwood here, a bunch of stuff on like, RoboQuest, a bunch of things of that nature. So like, what do you think that means for your like niche as a content creator? Because the last time we talked, you basically said that like the niche is kind of being a personality. Like people come to the channel for you and whatever you're doing. So like, where do you think it's going now that this is your pivot?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I guess like there was a long period of time where I would kind of like push back on this idea that like I was headed down the pipeline of like being someone who makes like video essays, because like, I don't know, video essays, like I like them. I watch them. I have one open on my monitor right now, paused, of course.
Who is it?
But like, who is it?
Who is it?
It's Never Knows Best. Actually investigating gaming is dying.
Holy shit.
The title of the video.
Fascinating.
Yeah, good video so far. But I'm like halfway through it. But what I've noticed from consuming a lot of that content is that even though that kind of is the direction that I'm going in, is like less stream highlighty, like funny ha-has, and more like, talking commentary analysis, that I don't really see too many channels out there whose videos are like paced and structured like mine. And even as I like go more into that realm of things, I think that still kind of holds true. And also just that like there is an element of personality in it. Like I no offense to Mr. Never Knows Best, who is up on my screen right now, and thus he will be my example. But I can only listen to so many like monotone British guys talk about video games, right? Like sometimes I just want someone who has like, it's why I like Any Austin so much. I don't know if you know Any Austin, but his thing, like he makes that type of video, but his videos are just like, first of all, videos that I firmly believe that only he as a human being could make. And they're also just different. Like they have a different vibe about them to like, your Joseph Anderson 6-hour Witcher critiques that like everyone's doing now. And I don't know if you know any of these people I'm talking about, by the way, but
no, but it's fascinating.
There's a list of channels for you to look into, or perhaps some of the listeners will know who I'm talking about. Anyways, highly recommend Any Austin. But something he does, and like maybe like a Nakey Jakey is like a pretty popular example of someone who does this, but like just the genre of dude who like stands in front of a green screen. At first I was like, this doesn't add anything. Like if you've got good points and good scripting and good analysis, you don't need to be a personality. And now I've come like fully back around to be like, maybe I am just gonna put up a green screen and like, record myself. Like I don't, it's just like a little reminder that like there is a human being like saying this stuff. I don't know. It's like I've kind of come back around to that, like actually maybe being based.
Yeah, that's
so maybe you'll see more of like actual physical me in the videos in the future.
Yeah, instead of it being like a a video of him trapped inside of a box in the top right corner of every video.
yeah. That occasionally it's voiceover, beheaded voiceover that occasionally cuts to me streaming and I don't know, saying some dumb shit to chat or whatever.
Yeah. No, that whole like there is a person behind this voice thing is something that I was talking about with a content creator a couple months ago when I did a revisit with him. And he was like, yeah, it's important that you do that because then you'll have people liking your content for your content. But you'll also
Yep.
have people, actually liking and respecting you as a person and not having the two disconnected from each other. So you don't have a bunch of people liking the content necessarily just because it was made by you, but more content that they like because they think it's good. There can be content
Mm-hmm.
that they enjoy because it's from you, because maybe there's a certain level of quality that they expect from that. But then the more that you physically involve yourself with it and like people can see you and whatnot, then that also helps them to make that connection. Even if they can very obviously see what you look like, because a lot of these videos do come from streams where they can see you. It feels a bit more
Yeah.
personable in a way.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought that like even if I just am like kind of monologuing like into my microphone with no like face cam or whatever, I was kind of thought that like just including like clips and moments from my stream in the background, even without audio or whatever, would like kind of give that same impression. But more and more I feel like it's too easy to ignore. Like in the grand scheme of things. I don't know, which is funny because I think we were talking about this before we actually started recording, but like earlier you were talking about how people will comment on the gameplay in the background of your soundtrack analysis videos. Which I think is really funny because like who cares, right? It's there, but like it's obviously not the point of the video.
Yeah.
I almost had the opposite problem where I'm like, no, like the video component actually is important and you're ignoring it.
They're like focusing on like your
Um,
tone of speech when you're speaking. You're like, God, look at the thing that matters. Like, dude.
Yeah, like I do go through and I pair up like clips that show what I'm like talking about or whatever with and I don't really care if you put it on second monitor or even you minimize it and listen to it in the background. It all counts the same in YouTube's eyes, but yeah, I just like that is there for a reason. um, so yeah,
Yeah, I think one of the most egregious examples that I've had of somebody like actively talking about something that didn't matter in the grand scheme of things for the video that I made was the most recent video that I made. I made a video analyzing the sound design for hit video game of the year almost Balatro, as well
Yep.
as having its music be a secondary component of the video. And
yeah,
people had a lot of good things to say about it. They had a lot of things to. Well, they had like one big thing to critique about the video. But one guy, he comes into my comments and he goes, he timestamps something, and I go, okay, this is great. This is either going to be some kind of joke that he's referring to, or this is going to be something I don't know what he's referring to. And he was mad at the fact that I discarded a straight flush.
for the challenge.
I don't. Well. Or no, okay, I'm trying to remember. I discarded something because I think I was looking for a royal flush to discard for the challenge.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
funny.
so that was what I was trying to do, and
That would have been my first thought, though. Because it's funny that you said that. I was like, oh, you got to do that to unlock Brainstorm.
Brainstorm,
I think
yeah.
I have way too many hours in Balatro. I have, like,
there's no such thing
350
as too
hours.
many.
That is true, as I've learned, because I'm on the completionist plus hunt right now,
Hell yeah.
and I'm finding that every run is harder than the last because like I just have less and less jokers to find a gold sticker on.
Yeah.
Ugh,
But oh god,
brutal.
let me see. I want to see if I can find exactly the message that he left. If I can spell the word discard properly.
Sometimes it just blows my mind, like what people take issue with that you said or did in a video. Like not you, but just like
People.
Anyone.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, that was not the thing. I had a video, an Ultra Kill video, that I released, which was I did it in two parts, but they're kind of like structured so that you could click on either one and be like, oh, this is an interesting challenge. Basically, what I did was I beat the game with every like class of weapons individually,
Yeah.
which isn't hard. Like you don't have to be exceptionally good at the game to do that, but it is interesting. Like it does put some interesting constraints and considerations on you. Now, I never claimed for it to be hard, of course, but like, you know, people had all sorts of issues with the structure of the challenge. People were like, "Why didn't you do every weapon variant?" It's like, because that would be wildly unfun.
It's like, are you
Not
insane?
not even hard. Like, I could probably do it. It would just be stupid. But on the second one, I titled it, "I beat Ultra Kill with every weapon. Yes, even the bad ones." Like, kind of just like a joke. You know, I don't really think the game has any like outright bad weapons. But like in the first minute, I was like basically almost verbatim, like, no, I'm not actually calling the weapons bad. I like them. I just think they're bad for this challenge. I have like 30 comments on that video, like, none of these weapons are actually bad, bro. What are you talking about? And I'm just like, not only did you not watch the video, which is fine. Sometimes I click on a video, realize it's not what I thought it was, or that it's not for me, and I click off. But you want to know what I don't do? I don't leave a fucking comment exposing that I didn't even watch a minute of the video.
Yeah, not only did you not watch it, not only did you not like have it in the background on the second monitor while you weren't paying attention, you had it on the second monitor, minimized in the background with sound off.
Yep. Monitor off, eyes off.
Yeah, literally. You had it on while you were sleeping, is what I think happened.
Yep. Well, I just think they clicked on it to comment on the video with no intention of watching it.
That is
but
very
it's
possible.
such a funny like self-report, because like, hey, maybe I did spend the whole video saying like, yeah, I think the red rocket launcher and the green screwdriver are awful. I hate them. But I didn't. In fact, I even said by the end of it that I liked them both more after doing that run. But nope, everyone was like, those weapons are not bad, bro. You're stupid.
Me when I make a slightly exaggerative YouTube title.
just a YouTube title in general, right? Like, I'm just like, it's like, I want you to click on the video and be entertained. Like, you know, like, God forbid, like you're supposed to click on it, immediately hear me actually clarify the title, and then watch because you find the challenge interesting. But no, you didn't even watch far enough to know what I was doing in the fucking video.
I found the comment. So yeah, so what had happened is I was I was correct. I was discarding a bunch of stuff because I was trying to find a royal flush that I could then discard to get brainstorm because I didn't have it. And some guy timestamped it and went, "You had a full house, why didn't you play it?" And I said, because I was trying to find a royal flush because I thought it'd be funny, and also so that I could discard that for brainstorm since I also didn't have that at the time. But what ended up happening is after he said that, a fight broke out in that comments thread.
Oh no!
Because some dude was like, "What the fuck are you? He doesn't have to play perfectly every single time." Like, they were going at each other's throats, and I was like, "I'm just gonna step away from this. This ain't got nothing to do with me anymore."
The only thing that I hate more than someone like blatantly rage baiting me in my comments is when someone else like comes to my defense for me. It's like, no, you don't get to say how I feel about this.
You don't get to defend my weird, questionable behavior.
Yeah. Usually if someone else has jumped in, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave this one alone.
Yeah, that's free engagement, son.
Yeah. Well, that was what I came back around to with the Ultra Kill video. Was I was like, hey, you know, if like 40, 50 people out of, you know, the 250 comments that I got on that want to talk about how I'm slandering these weapons that I'm not actually slandering for no reason, then fine, you know, free engagement. Why not?
YouTube drama. Local streamer Dumpster Man calls red rocket launcher bad, in air quotes.
I did. I'm usually not this petty. I can be, but usually not. I did every single one of those comments say like, hey, consider actually watching the video.
Yeah, just
like almost every single one of them I left a reply.
Just a thought.
Yeah, just, hey, try watching the video. It's probably not what you think.
Pro tip, if you're confused, watching the video explains the video.
Yep. Yeah, crazy how that works.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't get these people. It's
no.
On one hand, it is kind of annoying sometimes where it's like, why are you like, I would love to have discussions with people about like the music or like, I had one dude in the Balatro video telling me that the sound effect that the plasma deck makes when it balances your chips and malt is the reason he has the game. And I think that's cool. I love talking with people about that. But then for people to be like, you had a full house that you could have played. Are you stupid? And I'm like, dude, please.
Yes, I'm stupid. Is that what you want me to say? I'm stupid.
I do YouTube for a living. What do you think I am? No, I don't.
Oh man. Did anyone call you a games journalist? That's like usually their last resort insult.
Wait, was that real? Because one, no, nobody's called me a games journalist, but yeah, what? Why is that an insult?
There's a VOD of a game that I played the demo of that I didn't like, because frankly it was unfinished and not very good. But to my what I did not know is that this game, the developer of this game has a very popular Twitter account with a cult following, and the fans of the game got on me because I don't know, I just didn't intuit how to play, even though the demo didn't have a tutorial. And they love to call me a games journalist. I was like, I'm almost like, is this a compliment? Like, I don't. How much do you think I get paid to do this? Like, I was like, I just okay, thanks, I guess.
It's like, oh no, I have to write for a living. Fuck. What am I gonna do?
It wasn't like the guy who like failed the tutorial of Cuphead or whatever. Like either the game just didn't have a tutorial. Like I wandered around. I honestly, there is part of me that's like, I just shouldn't have like uploaded this VOD to YouTube. I just didn't think that like, 20,000 people would watch it or whatever. I thought it would get my usual like 100 to 200 views.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
a VOD. It's at that point, it's for organizational purposes, like our archival purposes, not for 20,000 people to call you a games journalist.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I was just like, man, none of you have anything better to do with your time than watch like someone you don't know play a game for 45 minutes and be clearly confused and irate, and then leave sometimes very, very long angry comments.
It's especially strange because you'd think that they'd go with the route. You know the meme that's like, streamer doesn't play the tutorial, streamer gets confused as to how to play the game.
Yeah.
You'd think it would have gone down like that sort of path, but to call someone a games journalist is such a bizarre, strange comment. Whether it's an insult or not, it's just a strange comment.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking back, the game might have had a tutorial. Like there was definitely a like an intro where I'm just gonna say what the game is. I don't know why this would like be it. Like the video's out there for people to. I have to jog my memory on the game, but VA Proxy is the name of the game.
Oh yeah.
And my understanding is that the demo has gotten a lot better because, of course, like the developer's still working on it, and like nothing that I said in that video was like, this game is doomed to be a failure. It's terrible. It's irredeemable. I was just like, this is a little too early for me to enjoy. Like, it's not there yet for me, and I'm a little confused, so I'm just gonna back out. And that was what people had a big issue with, apparently. But I believe the game like starts you off in an area where like you have to you have to at least get a feel for the controls to like get out. But then it basically just sets you free. And there were people in my comments that are like, there actually is more to the tutorial. You just went the wrong way, stupid. And I was like, okay, well, maybe the game should have done like any signposting for that.
Maybe they should have given me some yellow paint and then you spark even more controversy.
Straight up. I wouldn't have said no to it in that game because that game is very like kind of drab and colorless. And I don't even mean that in a bad way. It's just the art style. That is the aesthetic,
yeah.
But it wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah, VA Proxy is a very interesting little beast because one, everybody and their mother has seen the clip of parrying the nuke.
Yep.
Which I think is enough of a cool mechanic for me to be like, yeah, I'd probably at least like look at this game, watch people play it, maybe buy it and try it myself. But the other
I recommend at least waiting until it releases though, because the demos have not done it for me personally.
No, that's fair. If the game like is complete and finished and is like a functionally sound game, then I'm gonna wait for it to fully come out before doing that. But the other thing that I think is cool about the game, and this only matters to me and basically nobody else, which is that I didn't realize until about 6-7 months ago that the audio, like the composer for the game's soundtrack and maybe their like audio engineer, audio designer guy is subscribed to me on YouTube and likes my videos. So I was like,
oh, that's cool.
I was like, that's a dub for me.
Yeah, no, I wish the developer well. I have no real like hate for that game, and I hope that my admittedly frustrating gameplay and constructive criticism if they saw it, which I assume they did because it got like way too many views for what it was. um, I hope they, I don't know, take that and somehow improve on the new player experience for the game. I mean, that's the other thing too, was like the people who are like, oh, you can't criticize the demo because it's already good and I already like it. I'm just like, I'm sorry, you don't want the game to
Be
improve? Like it's still being developed. Like
Yeah.
it would be one thing if this was like a negative review of a fully released game. The game is in active development and this is like an alpha demo. I'm sorry, I'm giving feedback. It's how it
Yeah.
works.
And like, who knows? Maybe the developer doesn't think about these kind of things. It's not me taking a shot at him. This is just my
Yeah.
experience with the game. And if I am like anybody else in this world, a lot of other people may run into the same problem. Don't shoot me.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
Well, I think what I said was because I played the game and I think I heard that it was this was in 2023, by the way, so it's way back.
Oh, holy. Okay.
But
Yeah.
I think what I heard was that the game was supposed to come out in 2024, and obviously that did not happen. So good on the dev for realizing the game was not ready, because that was my experience. But no, the game looks cool, and like obviously the Twitter clips are hilarious, like parrying a nuke and parrying the ground and shit like that. Like that. If they can pull all that off, I think that game will be sweet. But yeah, it was a weird experience with the VOD like kind of leaving the bubble and attracting people who really thought that somehow that early alpha demo could do no wrong and that I was wrong to criticize it.
Yeah. I also just don't get people who criticize, or I don't get people who get mad at. Let me try that again. I don't understand that there are people who get mad at other people who criticize games and things, because this is like a very good analogy that I've learned from a couple of friends of mine, which is that like I'm allowed to criticize a game because much like any other product out there in the world, it is a product that I am spending my money to use, and I should be allowed to speak on how I feel about it, whether or not you
Yeah.
believe I'm correct or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think even like you don't even necessarily have to look at a game as like a product either, like a commercial endeavor to have valid criticism of it. You could go to a museum and look at a painting and be like, I don't like this painting.
Yeah.
And like no one can tell you you're wrong for feeling that way, even though all you did was stand in front of it and look at it. Like yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just I tend to like lean towards when it comes to watching streams and like, to some degree I self-select what I watch and who I watch, but like I watch that stuff for unique perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see someone play the exact way that I played. So it has been like a real eye-opener to me since I started streaming and making content that is what some people want, is just to have their opinions like just ping pong back to them. Like, I don't know. I'm definitely not the right like channel to watch for those people either, because like I sit there on stream and I just let my thoughts fly. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, yeah, I was a little off base about that, but it's a video game, right? Who cares? Like, I maybe have had some choice words of like Dark Souls bosses that I went back on eventually, but I just say what I'm feeling at the moment, right? It's just my experience.
Yeah, and for people to be paying attention to and analyzing every little thing, especially usually like to look at every little thing that a person is saying and then immediately take what they're saying as like gospel, or to immediately throw a fit about it. Because I think one thing, like as soon as you mention the Dark Souls bosses thing, I think about like I say some things when I get frustrated at Dark Souls bosses and how I think their mechanics are annoying as hell to fight against or whatever, and people might take that out of context and go, "Oh, he hates this boss here," and it's like understand that I'm just saying that because I'm like tilted.
Yeah.
If you asked me, when I'm a
or it's
level-headed
ammunition. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're good.
Or it gets used as ammunition to be like, oh, it's just a skill issue, and like that definitely happens with Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls as well, I should say. I always say Dark Souls 2, but not, not a big fan of Dark Souls 2, like the video game. But anyways, no, most recently I had a discussion about this, and no one in this instance was just like, oh, clearly it's just a skill issue, bro. But I've been replaying through all of like the modern Doom games.
Yeah.
To make this 2-hour long video, that's what it's on, is modern Doom.
Yeah.
Mostly Doom Eternal, because I just have a lot more to say about that game. And one of the things that I don't really like, which again, it's fine if people do, but I'm not a huge fan of the Marauder in that game. And when I first played, I was like, okay, do I not like this thing, or am I mad because I have a skill issue? Right? Is this something that I will enjoy with time or appreciate with time once I figure out how to play around it? And so this most recent playthrough, I got a lot better at it, and now I don't really have too much trouble with them. And I'm like, I still don't really like it. So, but that is mostly like the deflection of criticism that I see, be it for, difficult enemies or bosses in Doom Eternal, Dark Souls, whatever. It just always gets deflected to it's a skill issue. It's just a skill issue. You didn't understand it. You just didn't understand it. I don't know. Sometimes I think a visceral negative reaction too can be like very telling. I've changed my mind on some things that I didn't like on first brush, but a lot of times I don't. Because if something gives me a visceral enough negative reaction, then that is the feeling that is like in my mind every time I come back through that. So
yeah, it's funny. I was actually watching a video recently on something where that exact concept came up of like, are you actually upset about this thing? Do you actually not like this thing, or are you just deflecting because you're bad at the game? And it came up in the most random of places. Good old Team Fortress 2 again. It was just a video so this dude made a video on like weapons he didn't like in the game very much. And then like a year later, he made another video basically being like, well, on this channel, I have to use basically every weapon so I can talk about them for the types of videos that I do. And I've changed my mind on a lot of them. And then he made a video on the weapons that he's changed his mind on and that he liked.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, you'll notice for a lot of these, a lot of it came down to me not understanding the weapon, and then as I learned the weapon and got better with it, I enjoyed it a lot. And you might be thinking that's an excuse for why or he's like, you might be thinking that's like the main reason why I like these weapons now. Let me be clear, there are still weapons like insert A, B, C, and D that I played a lot, and I understand them very well, but I still don't like them very much. And I feel like in games like that, you can get away with doing that kind of thing. But when your game is kind of designed to be difficult in a sense, you can't get away with saying like, oh, I don't think I really like this thing very much. I don't think its mechanics are very good. I don't think its attacks are very inspired, like in the case of like the Ultra Kill Schism before the rework. And people would just be like, I think you just suck at the game. And you're like, okay.
I mean, with the Schism, that would be a crazy argument because it basically existed to just be a damage sponge that can't hit you to save its life before. Yeah. So if someone was you're right though, because and this is definitely not a phenomenon that's unique to Ultra Kill, even remotely. But like people will somehow twist even like things that really have no bearing on skill into being a skill issue somehow, just because they want to find some way to discredit a valid viewpoint. Like, to bring it back to that video that I made, yeah, some people were like, the weapons aren't bad, bro, you just have a skill issue. And it's like, I don't know, see the video where I beat the entire game with the weapon that you think I'm calling bad. Like, I'm sorry, that's not how it works.
Yeah,
that's its own issue though.
Yeah, I don't like, there's one thing that I always hear. I really like I don't like the discussion and the conversation around like people liking a hard game just because it's hard. Or not even necessarily, not even them liking it, but them thinking that the game is good because it's hard.
Yeah, like sacred. Yeah, the difficulty is sacred somehow.
Yeah,
I know exactly what
it's like saying. People talk, it's like how people fetishize the fact that like older games used to be difficult and whatnot. And it's like, it's not necessarily that they were good because they were difficult. I would argue that a lot of you think the games are good because they were like enjoyable for you growing up. And so you have a sense of nostalgia for them, which is fair. But the reason a lot of those games were also made hard is because if it was an arcade game, they were trying to get you to give them more money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But when the conversation around the sacredness of a game's difficulty comes up, my favorite thing is like, there was like a video that I watched regarding, it was regarding Souls games and their difficulty spikes, because this guy basically said, the way that I like to play the game is farm my ass off in a Souls game until I walk into the boss arena and my boss music starts playing.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
epic. But he basically said, like, do people who think that Souls games are good because they're hard, do they think the game would be better if it was even more difficult than it was right now? Would they think the game is good if it got to a point of being so difficult that they couldn't reasonably accessibly play the game? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I mean, well, and the real truth is that Souls games are not actually hard. And I think the people who have, beat all of them, and done Soul Level 1 or whatever and all of them, which is hard. Because I did it, I'm allowed to say that it's hard. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, I did play Dark Souls 3 at Soul Level 1. I died like 1,200 times, like just a ridiculous amount of times. And so, but it was fun, but all to say that was a self-imposed challenge, so I don't think that actually reflects the difficulty of the game.
Yeah.
But I do think that people want to feel special for like having done this or that. I mean, I hate to just bring it back to this. I see this in Ultra Kill too, where like, I've done, I've P ranked to this and that. I've basically done everything in the game that you can do that at least has like a measurable, that it shows somehow in the game, like a measurable accomplishment.
Yeah.
And all the time it'll be like, oh, you did this in 100 attempts. I did this in 10 attempts. It's just like, okay, I can't go back and do it for the first time in less attempts. What do you want me to do?
Exactly.
People always want to find some way to like feel special because they did a thing in a video game. But I do think that like to some degree, there's like a weird, I don't even want to call it like survivor bias, where like the people who beat Souls games will turn around and say, yeah, this was really hard. Like it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And like, it's not for everyone. Like I know I did it, but it's not for everyone. To kind of like gatekeep other people from having the experience. And it's just weird to me because the games really are not that hard. I think most people would find that they could, using the wiki or a guide or whatever, beat a Souls game without much friction.
Yeah.
I really do. Probably even without, to be honest. But I think just about anyone could do it with a guide.
Yeah, I'd argue that a lot of, especially like any game before Elden Ring where it's not insanely open world and lets you go wherever you want, you can kind of just meander around the place, kill whatever you see, and then like slowly learn your way around beating the game. Because like,
Yeah.
I don't know, this isn't like a particular measure of skill, but like Dark Souls 3 was my first Souls game that I had ever played, and I played it when I was like 14 or 15. And like, it took me a little bit to get used to the mechanics, being that I had never played a game of its style before at all. But like, it wasn't anything I couldn't do. The only boss
No.
I've yet to be able to beat is Midir, but I also have not played the game at a level where I could go back and just like go try that again. Like I'd have to play through a full playthrough of the game again to be able to even have a chance of doing that. But like everything else other than them, I've defeated. So I'm like, yeah, that's okay. And like I was doing that when I was fairly young. Like it's not insanely difficult. And that's not to poke fun at like what challenge it can offer to people. And that's not to denigrate the level, like how enjoyable the games can be for people if they're okay with like taking it slowly and trying to learn how to play the game.
Yep. Yeah, that's funny because my first reaction to that is that I still believe this, that every single From Software game needs like a boss refight mode like Sekiro had. Because why not? Like what downside would it have? But then it makes me think of someone came into my chat recently asking me for tips to fight V2 in Ultra Kill. And I was like, basically my advice was to just, forget about winning, forget about how many attempts it takes. Like just stop using your weapons and just watch it and just see what it does. And, like you realize it's pretty easy to dodge, pretty easy to parry. And then once you're comfortable with that, add the weapons back in. But someone else in my chat said, "Oh, V2 is like a big filter." And my response to that was, "It's only a filter if you quit." Like it doesn't have to be a filter. Like you could figure it out. You can learn it. You can keep going. I guess if you hit that point and you're just like, this game's difficulty is really not for me, then fair play. But yeah, I just think that like the concept of filter is really reliant on you, giving up.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I called I think in that like in the first video that I made, which in the first video that I made, I called V2 and 3-1 Gabriel like the biggest skill checks you would have had to deal with up until that point, which I like at the time kind of made sense because they were like
Pretty objectively true, I think.
yes, but yeah, because they were like the actual bosses that you could fight, and like the corpse of King Minos is kind of just a punching bag, and if you learn
Yeah.
that you can like high five him back to do a bunch of damage or whatever, but like these two are fast and they can fight back and they can move around a lot. Like they're bigger skill checks in the game, and
Yep.
luckily nobody ever took that as me being like, if you can't beat them, you stop playing the game. But it was more to make a point
Yeah.
that like up until this point, the game will kind of gradually lean you into certain things, and they'll teach you about certain
Yeah.
mechanics, and it'll be a very a very reasonable curve and slope. And then you're gonna hit those two, and you're gonna get stuck for a little while, and that's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean that's very true. I think the term skill check is a little different than like filter too, because filter to me is like you can't beat them, get out of here. Whereas skill check is like it's just like, okay, have you learned the prerequisite things that the game wants you to learn, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's a little softer way to say filter, right? Like it's just like, okay, you're having trouble with this boss. It's like, just think about what it's telling you, right? What is it communicating to you? But yeah, I mean, I think skill check is a perfectly viable word to use there. I think the other thing too, and like I see this most often in people discussing Ultra Kill because that is just what I see the most often in my comments and whatever. But I'm sure people feel this way about other games as well. Is that people have this really like kind of interestingly like stagnant or like linear view of skill, where like you're kind of born with a certain skill and you like can't get better by just playing more of the game. Like I don't know, it's weird. People seem to think that like your achievements and your ability in the game could be summed up by like how fast did you do this thing that one time like 3 years ago, instead of like, well, everyone learns at their own pace, and at the end of the day, we're all working towards the same achievements. And I don't know, doesn't really matter how good it's a single player game. It doesn't really matter how quickly you get better at something.
Yeah.
Um,
It's also kind of a strange thing because especially with games like Ultra Kill, there's like distinct different things that people can be good and bad at that are they're not
Oh my God,
they're
yeah.
they're not exactly measurable in the traditional sense of like being able to measure how fast you completed levels and whatnot. But certain things are measurable just in terms of like how people watch you play the game and where they see you struggle and where they see you do well. Because like I personally think that because of all the information that I've learned from like trying to speedrun bosses and watching videos from like West Axel and other like world record holders in these levels and whatnot,
Yep.
like I kind of know how to deal with some of them and whatnot. But I'd still classify a lot of my friends as being better than me at the game for different reasons. But like a lot of them aren't super great at the bosses, but they're really good at routing and knowing where to place things and knowing
Yeah.
like how to efficiently just clear the levels out without having to like
Sure.
stand there forever and do all that. So it's like there's different things that people can be good and bad at as long as they beat the levels in as good of a time as they want to. Then that's like good, and who cares? Like you said, it's a single player game. Who cares?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I tend to like see people that have like a hard time grasping that like, well, for one thing, that my Ultra Kill streams are just my experience, like unfiltered, right? Like it's, if I died 1,000 times in P2 or whatever, then that just was what it was,
That's what
right? Like
happened,
I can't change that. I can't cut, like it was all streamed live. I can't cut that out or whatever. But people seem to have like this weird, I don't know, blind spot for the fact that like you could just have an off day, right? Like
Yeah,
like it's not like every time I boot up the game, I'm like the exact same skill level, right?
yeah.
Like I just saw someone one time say like, oh, this guy knows more tech than me, but he like, and this is like a direct quote, does worse at the levels or something like that. And I was like, okay, I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe that's true, but at the same time, like you're not considering that maybe I took a 6 month break from the game, and like I still have this like kind of knowledge and muscle memory, but I'm not obviously at the peak of my skills,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Um,
There was
and
actually,
that's another thing too is like I do just take breaks from I don't play like any game regularly these days. I mean, I'm not kind of like embroiled in a multiplayer game. I kind of just play what I want to play and then move on to something else, right?
yeah,
I
exactly.
guess other than Balatro, 350 hours and counting, but
Yeah, that's like a just bust out a couple rounds while you have some downtime, do something
yeah, the
else,
Steam
come
Deck
back
is
to
a
it.
real culprit for that. Sitting on the couch with the wife, just pull out the Steam Deck, rip a round or two of Balatro.
I
Yeah, I don't think I would have 350 hours in that game if I could only play it sitting at my computer, safe to say, but
yeah,
it is
that's
still a
fair.
lot of hours.
Yeah, I have a quick thing to explain about Balatro, but first I want to talk about this thing. I was talking with a dude the other day about this fascinating thing, and it's a thing in like sports science called RPE, or rate of perceived exertion,
Mm,
which is essentially just like a measurement of like how hard your body is working doing anything, whether that is like physical activity or whether that's like I mean, it's basically doing like any activity that requires any amount of like force, like quite literally any
sure.
objective amount of force, and like that can also be affected by a multitude of different things. If you're sick, if you're having an off day mentally, if you haven't had enough like water in your system, like there's a bunch of little like physiological things within the body that can just alter your performance in anything based on
Yeah.
this RPE reading. So it's even like he knows more tech than me, that he's worse at the game, and it's like, okay, I'm sick.
Yeah.
I'm not up to speed right now.
Dude, it's funny. It's really pointless for me to make excuses about my P2 experience because like frankly, I don't care. I just think it's funny. Like and the
Yeah.
thumbnail is legendary and like when you click on the video and realize I actually died 1,000 times, like I think that's great. I think that's cinema personally.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made on YouTube, and I would not have traded my experience to have, impressed some 15-year-olds by beating the boss a little faster.
Yeah, exactly.
But like that day was probably one of the worst days I could have been playing Ultra Kill. Not only was I was really angry that I couldn't play P2 the day it came out. Um, for some reason. I don't remember what I had going on, but like for a day or two, I could not play the game. So I was like, oh, I'm already getting to it late. Like this is so frustrating. So all night I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, tomorrow's the day. I'm gonna play it. Like, and I'm like starting to like work myself up over it. I sleep like none at all.
Damn it.
I wake up, I start stream. I've got like 100 people in my chat, all of whom have played and beat the level, telling me exactly what's in the level, telling me how to play, whatever. And so I'm even more mad. And I'm like, oh, this is miserable. And I didn't know what was in store for me with all the arena gauntlets and stuff. First of all, luckily I hadn't had that spoiled.
Thank God.
Um, but so I get into that and I'm just like, whew, this isn't even the boss. And then, yeah, I don't know. I just like I started getting really hungry because my stream went long and I like way overran dinner, so I didn't have any like food in my system either. I was operating on like 3 hours of sleep, and so I think the result is really funny, and it made my entire experience better. It made the video better, and it made like just everything kind of just more like surreal and legendary.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, safe to say, in terms of just like performing well, I don't think there could have been a more perfect storm for me to not do well at that. I'm not sure I've ever actually talked about the backstory of why that was such a shit show of a stream.
Just the
I mean,
building up.
who's to say if I got perfect sleep and had 3 meals that day or whatever that I wouldn't have still died 1,000 times? Probably at least close to that, but yeah, definitely it was quite the day. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's the hindsight to the buildup of it that's like infinitely funnier about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the only
And that, to this day, I think that's the only time I haven't. Well, I shouldn't say the only time, but since I've been like kind of a known figure for playing Ultra Kill, I think that is the only major update that I didn't play the day it came out. And as a result, I probably will never do that again.
yeah, that's
Because
fair.
that was miserable and like I don't know, yeah, everything about it was just not what I want out of out of a like new update stream.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it seems like every streamer who shows up to an update the day of usually still has to stream a little bit later in the day because we are adults with jobs, okay? And so even if you show up the day of, you will already have people trying to talk about and trying to like subtly get around the
Oh my
spoilers for the
god.
stuff they know about the levels. I remember the encore stream. You were like,
Yeah.
where you were going through all of the you were going through all the revamped levels, and you were like, why is this little hole here in layer 1? And I could just see tons of people like trying to skirt around the spoiler for what that belonged to. And I was like, guys, it's the day of the update. Calm down. So I can't even imagine how much worse it'd be.
That's
the
funny
day
that you
after.
point that out specifically, because I think with a little bit of like just a little bit of additional thought, I probably could have got there to what that was for. But yeah, anyways, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, I couldn't even imagine then being late to a major update 2 or 3 days later. Like
Yeah.
having to avoid all the spoilers on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, on any social media with Ultra Kill on it, and then to start streaming it and having people have 2 days worth of knowledge and they just can't hold it in anymore and they have to tell somebody.
Actually, I just remembered something funny about that P2 stream specifically. Was the one of the first things I remember like reading out loud in my chat was someone saying something along the lines of like, well, this level took Trav Guy 250 attempts or something. And it was really funny, admittedly. And I didn't keep it in the video because I didn't want to make it like a me versus Trav Guy type thing, because I like him. I think his content is cool. Whatever. And but I think just in my haze, I was like, I think I should be able to do it in less. Basically, it wasn't like supposed to be a call out or anything. I was just like, he's new to the game, like, and I've been playing it a little longer, and I was like, I think it should take me less. And then obviously it didn't, and it would have been really funny to like have that in the video, but I just didn't want to, I don't know. I don't like getting into other content creators' business, and I like Trav Guy. I didn't want people to take that the wrong way.
Yeah, especially if you have all the people who get to that point and then they see the video, I beat Ultra Kill's hardest level, it took me 1,000 attempts, and then they get to that portion of the video and they're like, oh, okay, they're taking shots now. And then they don't even, and then like they don't even watch the rest of the video to confirm that is actually in fact what happened. And then you just,
I think someone must have sent him the clip, because he did comment on the video and just say like Lamau or something. Which I think is really funny.
He knows.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yep. All good though. I just thought it was funny. I no hard feelings. I just thought it was funny, and that's another funny story that I'm sure everyone who was there and stream remembers it, but I don't think I've ever told it like outside of that.
Yeah, it's like
it was kind of like when I just was like full face cam at the beginning, and usually that stuff doesn't make the cut for videos, but either way, I just was like, it's a minefield. I don't want to get into like some drama. I don't know Trav Guy well enough to know.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have that kind of connection with him yet.
Yeah,
but let me actually ask you, because I've seen the videos that were made on. Or actually, I don't know if it's one or if it's multiple. Either way, there has at least been a video that you made on Ultra Kill's Brutal. This is actually the only Ultra Kill question that I have, but this is the most recent stuff that's happened since. I'm just curious how you feel about like the Brutal difficulty as a whole, as well as like the encore levels that were introduced with the revamp, and like, what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, there's my own personal feelings, and then there's like the broader like reaction to the things, and I sort of have a perspective from both, because of just like how much I see like people's reactions in my Discord and in my comments and stuff. But for me, I had fun with Brutal. I played all the levels at the time, including the Prime Sanctums. I have not yet. It's the one thing, well, now two, including the Encores, that I haven't done, is P-ranked P2 specifically on Brutal. But I was just kind of like, this isn't going anywhere. I can do this some other time. Yeah. I didn't even practice it. So I played through the level once. It was fun. But I just was like, I'm a little burnt out. I don't need to get into like another like kind of weeks long P rank grind.
for 3
Hopefully
levels.
not weeks long, but you never know. Yeah. But yeah, honestly, now with the encores, it might literally be. Um, but yeah, I mean, I had fun. I think my overwhelming takeaway was just like that. I think violent is more fun for like a first playthrough. Um, and I'm kind of, especially after the encores, I'm kind of sticking to my guns on that because a lot of people did not have a lot of fun with the encores on Brutal. Um, you know, hey, power to you. You know, if that's what you want your experience of Ultra Kill to be like,
You have that.
your first experience of new content, go for it. But for me, it's clear to me that first of all that a little more effort is put into balancing the game on standard specifically, but violent being not too different from standard as a result definitely benefits. And that brutal is at this point in the game's development. I don't want maybe an afterthought is a dramatic reaction, but it's definitely not the priority for balancing the game. So yeah, I think my overwhelming assessment is that I will stick on violent for my like first playthrough stuff, and then perhaps when the game comes out, I make the full jump to brutal, or I just treat it like what the game treats it like, which is kind of a new game plus challenge mode.
Yeah, like deliberately designed for those people who.
It even says to play the game with the full arsenal. Like, so the people who are starting new runs on brutal, whatever, you know, have fun, but
Just know the game was not
for me.
Yeah, the game was not quite
Yeah.
intended for you to do that, but okay. That's gonna be like it's gonna be some kind of insane YouTube level challenge.
Yeah. And then you asked about the encores as well. I really like them for the most part. I don't play Cybergrind, so I'm not like used to doing the like flying off the map like rocket riding stuff. I mean, I can rocket ride at least like the slower method, perfectly fine. But yeah, I was not prepared for like the floor is lava shit in 1E. And I can't say I really enjoyed it all that much. My assessment was like, I think it's healthy for the game to like experiment with this kind of difficulty, and I just didn't personally find it fun. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's like what encore levels are good for. Is just trying those different things. Like I look at them like Celeste B-sides.
Yeah.
If you've played Celeste,
I have not, but I have watched a friend.
Yeah, but you kind of know what they're about, right? They're like they use the ideas from the regular levels and just remix them and make them harder, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's C-sides too, which are insane.
Yeah.
I actually have not done the B-sides or C-sides myself. I've just played base Celeste, but someday I want to get to it. But yeah, it's the same kind of concept, at least the same thinking that I apply for the Ultra Kill Encores.
Yeah, exactly.
Is like, it's like for when you've beat the game, and then maybe even like another like pretty big step up from that. There were some people mad that they felt like it was too hard for levels that are available like after you just beat the game once. But I don't know. I don't think the game really tells you like, hey, now go play the encores, right? Like you still kind of have to seek them out. And I don't know, maybe who knows? Maybe you go for P ranks first. Like maybe you saw the P doors and want to go do that first. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and
or if you go into them and you find they're too hard, you can always just come back, like, right? I think that if anything, that just makes you want to play the game more and get better at the game, is like finding some content that you're like not quite ready for yet.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of the way that I was thinking about it. I was like, if you don't, like, as long as you're not listening to what other fucking five heads on the internet are, as long as you're not listening to what their opinions are on how you should be playing the game, it's like, I don't know, play the game however you feel like, and if you feel like they're too hard, that's okay. You don't have to play them. They're not exactly like, no, the game's not forcing you to do anything. You don't like, you play the game as much as you feel like it benefits you. As long as you feel like you got your $10, $15, $20, $30 worth out of the game, that's fine. If it does encourage you to play the game more, that's great. That means that you just get more time out of a game that's like pretty cool, if not, you know, fairly difficult sometimes in certain cases.
Yeah.
But yeah, also I agree, the lava room in 1E actually like pissed me off so much more than anything else I've like ever done. It felt like I would stand on the little platforms that the Guttermen were on, and V1's feet would
fall off.
They'd get it's like his feet suddenly have wheels on them and he just can't stand on anything. And I'm like, dude, if you don't fucking stand on this platform, I'm throwing you into the lava myself.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, I think it's by design. However, it's evil. They're not quite flat.
Yeah.
Like they are. They do have like a 15% slope on them or
Flat
something,
with an
which is
asterisk on it.
But yeah, apparently they're flat enough for the Guttermen to stand there, but not little old V1, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked them. I thought, especially Zero E, I really liked. I would go as far as to say that I think that's one of the most fun levels in the game for me. 1E, interesting, little more mixed. I don't dislike it, but yeah, it's not quite as good for me. But I did overall like them both, and I thought, like, in terms of the experiments with layouts and difficulty and stuff, I thought they were pretty interesting. So at least on Violent, on Brutal, maybe the Cerberus duo is a little too much, but
Yeah, I watched the video of like the world's first like Brutal Zero E P rank. No, not even P rank. P rank no damage. And he just did the thing that a lot of other people. I don't blame him. He just did the thing that a lot of other people
stood
did.
on the ledge and just screw punched or whatever.
Stood on the door and was like, "I'll kill them eventually." I know that I've already beat this fast enough that I can just get the P rank. So I'll do that. And then I think they patched that out of the game. So now it's a kind of a pain.
Hell in a cell.
Yeah. But
yep. But yeah, I mean I think that pretty much covers all the new stuff since we last talked. But yeah, it's interesting because it's been kind of a slow period of time for Ultra Kill, but I'm not really complaining because for me it has been a good excuse to explore different things. And like, now I'm getting ready to release a big Doom video, which I think will, hopefully probably do good. A lot of people in my comments and on my channel talk about and ask me about, especially Doom Eternal, just because of how similar it is to Ultra Kill.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to disappoint them that I hate their favorite mechanic in that game or whatever. I don't know. No, I like Doom Eternal a lot, but yeah, I'm making kind of a like in-depth critique analysis type video, which I'm sure people will not have opinions on at all.
Surely people will have something to say about this 2.5 hour long video on their favorite game.
Yep. And then Dark Ages right after that, which I'm looking forward to as well. So,
dude, one of my favorite things is that because of like the reasonably slow like Ultra Kill updates and whatnot, I'll see some random like TikTok post from Hakita, which will just be like a full frame, like full screen video of the that like little video that shows up on the screen in 5S when you beat the game, and it's just like V1 holding a thumbs up to the camera.
Yeah,
it'll be like something like that, but blown up to the size of everybody's phone. And like, I'll just go through the comments and everybody will be like, "What the fuck is Akita doing, dude? Update your fucking game."
Yeah, I mean, dude, people, I don't know what it is, but like people have been so spoiled with Ultra Kill. I feel like the updates are regular and they're big, like, but somehow it's not good enough for some people. I don't know. I read a comment. And this, mind you, was days before the Ultra Revamp update came out, of someone saying, and I don't know if they were being serious, because this sounds like it couldn't have possibly been serious, but there was no no tone of jokiness to this post. They basically said, if Ultra Kill doesn't get an update soon, it's going to go the way of Silk Song and Deltarune, both of which, funny enough, are now announced to come out this year. I was talking
to somebody about that exactly. So and he was funnier. Like, all of these updates. Oh my god.
But also, the point was just like, these games that have like been forever in development without an update. But it's like Ultra Kill got an update less than a year ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It was the last update was like May of last year, and then the Ultra Revamp came out what, in February? Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
It wasn't even a year. It wasn't even really all that close to a full year.
Yeah, I think the people, it's like they're too fast to get through all the content, and they're not, like, they don't want to just sit there and kind of examine what's going on. So they go through it one time with their like speedrun hats on, and then they're like, all right, that's the whole content. Hakita, release another one right now, please. So they like finish it same day.
I guess.
Like, dude, chill out.
I don't know. I think we talked about this last time you and I chatted, but like what I've noticed a lot of times is like when I see like really puzzling behavior from, in this case specifically, the Ultra Kill community, but again, I don't want to talk about them in such like absolutes. It can definitely be applied to other corners of the internet. It's kids or teenagers, just people with not a ton of life experience. saying these things. Usually, it's probably someone who picked up Ultra Kill since its last update, doesn't even know the update history, and is like, "Well, what the hell? This game isn't done, and I haven't even had an update yet." Like,
Yeah, literally no
but
context.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know, but either way, no, that's good. I think I thought those larger updates were great. I don't think they're personally to my taste of like enjoyment quite as much as like Layer 7, but like I still played my
Yeah.
fair share of the game when they came out, and I'm still happy that they're in the game. So
Yeah, I mean, there's only it's two new levels, right? Like, there's only so much you can do.
yeah, but
They're big levels, but
yeah,
yeah,
those levels
limited
are
amount of
insane.
content.
And I think Zero E is also like insanely replayable compared to 1E for my personal taste. So like again, I'm not mad.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little more like open structure. I mean, you got at least like two different skull paths. I mean, as I was doing my P ranks, I found some like pretty interesting, like, I don't want to say shortcuts, but like time saves on that level, which I thought was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's cool when all the
And
like the entirety
yeah,
of the level wraps around itself and is interconnected in weird ways at the same time.
yeah. Well, not to mention it's all the prelude.
Yeah.
You get to go back through all the levels, like, but smushed together, which is fun.
From
Someone described it like especially the end with the heat, like pizza time and pizza tower. I was like, that's pretty good.
Wait a minute.
And I even used the music, or I used the like the like post final boss music from Pizza Tower, where you have to run through all the levels to get out.
Oh, that's insane! What the fuck? I
In
have
my
not even
video.
played the game that much. That sounds intense.
Oh, you haven't? For some reason, I thought you had played. I thought you and I had maybe discussed Pizza Tower or something.
It
But
probably
yeah.
came up as a joke because somebody told it to me and talked about it with me, and I bought it a little while ago. But I played it for like half an hour one day, and weirdly enough, like it's weird that I've never had this problem with other games, but like Pizza Tower had so many buttons that I got overwhelmed and stopped playing for like 6 months, and then came back and have been kind
Oh,
of
I get it.
like touching a couple levels at a time and being like, oh yeah, that's right, this game is really cool.
I had a really fun like first experience with that game, but I went back to like try and do that game's version of P ranks, and I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah, I'm not cracked out
It's
enough.
like,
I'm sorry.
it's not even like, yeah, it wasn't like, I probably could do it, but I just was like, it basically requires you to do every level in such a specific way that I was like, I don't know. Like, at least in Ultra Kill, like most of the levels I could just like shoot stuff really fast until they die and get a P rank. In this game, it's like you can't get hit. You have to keep up a combo, so you have to go fast enough to like. I was just like, it's too much to juggle. But really good for one playthrough.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that one playthrough at least.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see. I guess going from one robot game to another, RoboQuest is another one of those things that I didn't think I was going to enjoy as much as I did. So it was really fascinating getting into the game and then seeing your videos on it, and then obviously having to ask you about like music for the game and whatnot. So I'm just like, I don't know how you. I mean, I should have assumed that you of all people would have stumbled upon a game like this, but like, how did you stumble upon it? What are your general thoughts about it? Like goods, bads, everything.
I don't think that I thought about how I actually got into RoboQuest until just now when you asked me, since I first played it. But what ended up happening was I got this, like, I don't even want to call it a sponsorship. Basically, Microsoft sent me like 3 months of Game Pass for like, in exchange for just like, they just wanted me to like play and cover a Game Pass game. Like that was, and I was like, okay, I've never had Game Pass before. I'll check it out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I connected it through like some website that I get like usually game keys from, but I guess sometimes Microsoft runs this like promo through there. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give this a try. And RoboQuest was just what caught my eye, and I played it. And this was like pretty early in the early access, so it was definitely not the same exact game that it is now. Like I remember carrying 3 weapons and stuff. Like there was some differences. But I had a lot of fun with it, and I kept it on my radar. And then eventually the studio that made the game, when the game got closer to release, no, it was before that. They wanted to see if I wanted to do specifically like a co-op promo. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But I actually like would do it in exchange for 2 Steam keys, basically, because I had played it on Game Pass before, let the Game Pass subscription lapse, and then was like, I actually don't have a way to play the game. Can I get a key? And so they sent me a key for me, and then Dave, one of my moderators and just fellow content creator, or at this point ex content creator, and we played it together. And then since then, I owned it on Steam, and I kind of just like kept tabs on it until it released in full. And then I kind of really went all in on it and made some videos and kind of did everything you could do in that game too, just about. I at least beat every character on Guardian 4. And at that point I was kind of like satisfied with my experience. But yeah, I mean, I put easily over 100 hours into that game, which again is pretty rare for me. So, and the rest is history. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely made more RoboQuest videos on my channel than many other games that I cover. But it was another story of like I kind of struck while the iron was hot, had a few videos that did pretty well, and then the interest kind of just naturally waned in that game, and I stopped. But in a way, it was kind of a blessing in disguise that the numbers weren't there, and I didn't feel compelled to make more RoboQuest content because I was kind of like naturally at an endpoint with the game anyways. But yeah, I mean, lots of fun, great game. And if anyone is listening and hasn't touched that game and enjoys things like Doom and Ultra Kill, other games we talked about, pick that shit up because it's so fun.
Yeah, RoboQuest.
But yeah, I've kind of done it all. I've kind of seen it all at this point. So
trying to think, RoboQuest is like, it feels like one of those games that I don't hear anybody ever talking about outside of like a handful of people that like content creators who I enjoy, who have happened to play it.
Yeah, it wasn't as big as it could have been. I feel, and I have thoughts on that too. But go ahead.
Yeah, I just, actually, funnily enough, I think one of the reasons, I wonder why, or I wonder if like one of the reasons it's not as big as it is either due to it maybe not having a name that draws people in as easily as other games.
That's my number one thing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, every person that I've talked to about it has kind of influenced me into the opinion that like the game has a generic as hell title, which sucks because the game is really cool, and if more people played it, they for sure would really be into the game and there'd be a lot more traction for it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing, I don't know if you're familiar with a game called Gunfire Reborn.
Oh yeah, I have like I have like 60, 65 hours in that game.
Okay, yeah. My theory is that at a glance, it looks too similar to that game, and that people are either looking at it and being like, well, I already played this other game. Why would I pick up this game that's like almost exactly like it?
Yeah.
Or they're like, I didn't like this other game, so why would I get into this other game that's exactly like it, basically?
Yeah.
And I think maybe they decided in a vacuum to go with like the cell shaded kind of Borderlands style, but I think it's maybe inviting undue comparisons to that game, because I did have some fun with Gunfire Reborn. I probably have less time in it than you, but I definitely have a good amount of time in it. But I fell off of it because I just didn't feel like it was really doing it for me. And I mostly was just playing it for co-op with my friends.
Yeah.
RoboQuest is like what I wish that game was, and then some. But I don't know that that's like really necessarily coming across when you just look at like the Steam page. I think they look very similar at a glance.
Yeah, and more people are probably this is a thing that I've learned from some friends of mine, which is that really colorful furry animals draws people in a lot easier than robots.
Yeah.
Unless the robots are like very steampunky looking, very Armored Core type. Like if it's not that, I don't know that people care that much.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, you look at Gunfire Reborn, and like, although it's a single player / co-op game, like it is almost like a hero shooter with like, characters that you can like, attach some kind of personality to. Whereas like the robots in RoboQuest, they have little differences, but they're mostly kind of just robots with different colors and different abilities.
Yeah, and you're never gonna like
so maybe
feel
that
the
is part of
differences
it
for them. You're never gonna like feel the visual differences for them unless you're playing with a friend.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think I think that's part of it too. I mean, the game is definitely a success. Like I'm just curious like how many like reviews it has on Steam since there's no real other way to
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 gauge anything.
gauge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steam's being slow for me today. And it's got 16.5k overwhelmingly positive reviews. I mean, that's definitely a success.
Yeah.
Um but it does feel like the game could have maybe had more success and more staying power. I think the other thing too is once you have unlocked everything in the game, every run, I don't want to say every run is the same, but like your routing is not interesting really. Like you kind of just find the best route and always go that route. They did a little bit to fix that by adding like the upgrade powder or whatever. But almost everyone I know had like that played this game at like even like a remotely high level had just their favorite route that they would go that they felt gave them the most resources, the best chance of succeeding. And I don't know, it gets a little boring just seeing the same environments.
Yeah, it seems like the
But
majority of the
that's more of an issue of like how many hours can I milk out of this game, right? Like I still put 100 hours into this game and really enjoyed it for almost all of that time.
Yeah.
Oop, sorry, can you still hear me? I just like did something weird on Steam and it hijacked my. Oh, I clicked big picture mode and it.
He's in the middle of talking about the hours he put into RoboQuest, and he just hears a big THX boom in his ears.
I was actually just trying to minimize it, and I accidentally exit big picture mode. There we go.
I hate big picture mode.
No, it was really loud, and my screen just went dark for a second, and I was like, "Oh god!"
They put me in a movie theater.
Yeah, really.
What was I feel like the way that like people are going to get the most enjoyment out of RoboQuest is by doing like the crazy shit that someone like you has done on the game, where you were like, this is my favorite build in RoboQuest, and it was just like the torpedo rifle with max attack speed or whatever. It's like,
yeah,
playing it to try and accomplish some of like the roguelike batshit insanity that you can get out of the game.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who doesn't want to play it like that, then it's like, then I can understand that how after, 75, 100 hours, you're like, okay, I think I've gotten my fill out of this game.
Yeah. I mean, it does have, I think the game has more build variety than it lets on. I think like weirdly the onboarding process of that game might be part of the problem. Like I understand that they're a little hesitant to like just cut you loose with like everything unlocked. But when you can only take like one of two perks at a time, it's kind of just like, okay, I can't really tailor a build for anything. I'm kind of just at the mercy of what I get.
Yeah.
It doesn't really show you how cool the game can be. Like it feels like they're afraid to let you like kind of luck into a good build right away and just run to the end and beat Iris, which you can't do anyways because reasonably you need the power crystals. Like an experienced player could start a fresh save and go beat Iris, but like not a new player. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So at least not on like hard difficulty or whatever. That's all I ever played on was hard and above. So I have no frame of reference for what normal mode is like.
It's a little bit easier
because I spent 20 hours getting my ass kicked before I even got a win on hard. It makes unlocking things slower too, because I was like, damn, I'm like a lot of runs I'm dying before I can even get to the point where I can do any of these quests.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was fun. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't trade my experience, but yeah, I mean, it's someone who, plays on a lower difficulty and has it really all planned out could probably beat the game for the first time faster.
I'm also curious as to.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. I definitely think more people could and probably should check it out. And I don't know. I've kind of done what I can for that game, and it still has kind of maybe not hit the audience that I believe that it could, but it is what it is. All I can do now is just say, hey, it's good. Go play it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was even looking at, because I was curious, because another thing that I was trying to examine is like what the influence that content creators have on the success of a game, be it in terms of like usually just in terms of like bringing a bunch of people into it. Sometimes being able to tell like by how many views a particular, like how many views the highest viewed videos on these games have.
Yeah.
And the highest one that I'm seeing is just a little over 300,000 by Bricky. If you've ever seen his video, I'm sure you.
Oh yeah,
have. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know he played RoboQuest.
Yeah, he I think he was getting on the train for this game kind of at the same time that everybody else was, based on the timeline.
Yeah,
But yeah, most of the like the highest viewed videos, it's like, yeah, one from him, one from Trav Guy, couple videos from you. Uh
that's right. I remember Trav made a video too.
yeah, he was actually the reason that I initially got into the game. Uh but yeah, it's like his video, one of your videos, Bricky's video, and a couple of other people whose videos are like on the cusp of 100,000. But that
Oh wow, at
seems to be about
60,
it.
I didn't even realize my video had 63K.
Yeah.
That is a weird video because it really is just me doing a run,
Yeah.
and not even winning. It's not even a winning run. But I mean, it was at that point I was still early in the game, and I was just like, holy shit! Like the iceberg of the crazy shit you could do in this game goes way deeper than I thought, and I just had to like get it out there. But yeah, like in hindsight, it's weird that video like was the one that kind of hit it
Yeah, exactly.
for RoboQuest.
But
Because yeah, the rest of mine kind of ended in like a 5 to 10K range, which is like not bad. I would say that's like baseline, like what I hope a video does when I post it.
yeah, and for a game that has as little exposure as RoboQuest, I'm actually kind of impressed with a number like that, because like RoboQuest, comparatively to a lot of other content that other people that I see make, it generally doesn't do as good because it's a game that people haven't heard
Yeah.
of. So it's still
Yeah.
really impressive to see like how well some of those can do by comparison to like say other projects that may not get quite as many views as like your largest projects on your main channel in a sense.
Yep. Yeah, for me, I don't really look at least at like what other people are doing. I mean, if I see like a content creator that I like made a video in like a similar niche as me, like I'll go check it out. But like before I make a video, I'm not like going on YouTube and searching RoboQuest. Like what are people making videos on? What are people saying? Like whatever.
Yeah.
Usually it's just like does this have any applicability to my subscribers? Like, are they going to want to watch this? And like, do I want to make a video on it? Or, you know, it's going to sound a little cynical, but like, do I feel some sort of obligation to make a video on this? And usually if the answer to really any of those is yes, then I will just make it.
And that's good
It doesn't
enough,
matter
yeah.
what. Yeah. Which is what I did with RoboQuest, and I kind of just kept doing it because I was enjoying it. But yeah, at a certain point, the views dropped off on the stuff I was posting, and I was kind of like winding down the like palette of content that I wanted to make on that game anyways. So it was kind of like if the videos were still popping off and I still wanted to, I could have done, you know, challenge runs or whatever. But I kind of just was like, all right, it seems like people have kind of had their fun with this game and are moving on. So
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, this is a good end point to kind of move on to something else.
Yeah.
It's not like people are really, you know, how many comments are you getting on a regular basis being like, bro, go back to RoboQuest, please?
yeah. Part of me wanted to make like a kind of a really exhaustive like review or like analysis of RoboQuest because I think there's interesting things to unpack. But I just think that even though that video might be fun for me to make, I think we're at a point with that game where like the people who wanted to play it have checked it out and the people who aren't interested in it are just not interested in it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure there's anything I could say that would sway anyone. And frankly, the last update that game got left a bad taste in my mouth, and that is the endless mode update. I'm not sure if you played endless mode.
I played one round
but-
yesterday and got my shit kicked in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd be curious of your thoughts because I think it's not very good. And I unfortunately think that the devs are in a little bit of like a feedback loop with some of the like really hardcore members of the community that they're getting feedback from on endless mode and who have told them that it's fine and the, you know, the duo bosses are fun actually, even though almost everyone thinks they're ass. And I have not seen them make meaningful changes to it that would bring me back. So that doesn't make the like roguelike mode, normal mode, whatever, like where you can fight Iris and win the game, not fun. But endless mode was something that I was like, okay, maybe there's a little more steam in this game. Maybe I could make some endless mode videos. But then I tried it and I didn't like it at all. So
I'd be curious to see them like balance the game more around the fact that it's supposed to be an endless version and like having things function differently. That'd be maybe a cool way to handle it because it feels like I don't know. In the very brief time that I played it, it's kind of just like playing the regular game, but you get things less frequently, and you're kind of just constantly on go mode all the time.
Did you get to a boss?
No, but hearing the double boss, I'm like, that
Um,
seems kind of fucked up.
yeah, all of the bosses, starting from level 1, are duo bosses of like just randomly haphazardly smushed together bosses from the base game. So you can fight what's his name, Uncle Jim, and the beetle guy.
Oh yeah,
The
Beetle
Beetle
Royale.
Royale at the I think it's those two at the same time. They have like set combos, but none of them are fun. They're all not fun somehow. And they start right away at level 1. So before you even have like a build online, you're being faced with two bosses, and they share a health bar too for some reason. It's weird, just weird decisions made all around. But some people who are better than me at the game, and again, I have 100 hours in the game, seem to think it's fine. I disagree personally. I think it's pretty unfun. And I would say that, well, this is at least like somewhat provable. Um, so only okay. The achievement for Endless Journey, get knocked out in Endless Mode. Only 7% of players have that achievement. So only 7% of players have even played Endless Mode. And let me see, what is the finish the game on Guardian 4 difficulty is 5% of players. So I belong to at least the top 5% of players of that game. And I do not think that that mode is fun or balanced. And I think that a lot of people would probably agree with me. Yet I have
Yeah,
not seen them change it. So,
and I also think
unfortunate.
I also think there might be some merit in that, in the fact that there is a 2.5% difference between repairing the portal and actually playing the endless mode and getting knocked down. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's possible too that like people just didn't even know it was added in an update and were just like, "Oh, I guess this is a thing now, whatever," and just turn around and played the normal mode.
probably.
Um, but the other thing too was like I did jump into endless mode on Guardian 4, but like I went back on hard and like the levels were easy, but the duo bosses were still fucked. Like there was still like a 50-50 chance I was dying right away to that first boss because I just didn't have a build. Like anyways, this is getting into the weeds of just ranting about RoboQuest, but safe to say that update was not my favorite, and I do think that kind of put the final nail in the coffin of me like making another RoboQuest video.
No, that seems reasonable. I guess speaking of another update that left a bad taste in people's mouths, I saw a long time ago that you had Risk of Rain videos on your channel. Or I shouldn't say
Yeah.
had, you still have them.
Yeah, on my set. Oh no, you know what? There is one main channel Risk of Rain.
Yeah,
video.
wasn't it just like you
Yeah,
and
probably
4 other
probably
people
more so
playing
on my.
like 100-player difficulty or some weird shit? I don't remember what you guys were doing.
No, you're definitely thinking of someone else. But I did. Yeah, I got like 10 of my friends in a lobby.
That's what I'm thinking
to play Risk of Rain 2. Yeah, and yeah, the results were. I'm sure people have done way more like uncapped multiplayer stuff, but yeah, the results were pretty funny.
But yeah, so as you're probably aware, they had their like presumably like final big update a couple months ago, Secrets of the Storm.
Yep, DLC.
Yeah, and obviously at the time people were not super happy about it, but I'm now curious for your opinions, like how you feel about Risk of Rain, and if you have played that DLC, what your opinions on that are specifically.
I did not play the DLC because I heard it was bad. Like I just was kind of like, oh, if this is good, I'm very down to get back into the game. And then it was released to pretty unanimously bad reception, and I was like, okay, I will not be buying this. But if I'm not mistaken, they broke the base game too with that update, and so even if I wanted to play it, sans DLC, I couldn't have.
Yeah,
or I could have, but it would have been miserable.
Yeah, because you couldn't, because it didn't necessarily matter if you had the Secrets of the Storm DLC. Yeah, there were updates like pushed to the base game, so at the time, you would have to down patch your game in order to be able to play again.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, I haven't played since then. I think the last time I played was the Devotion update, which was fine. I don't know. I didn't have like strong thoughts on
It
it,
was
but
pretty
like
small anyhow.
just a little new content. The last time I played like any meaningful amount was probably post Survivors of the Void. And honestly, most of my playtime in that game was on like the 1.0 patch and even early access. So it's been a while since I was really into Risk of Rain 2. I mean, I love the game, but yeah, I hit a point with that game where I was like, okay, what am I doing? Like, am I going and just grinding it out on every character? You know, get all the monsoon skins and whatever, do the eclipse grind or whatever. Like, am I willing to do all of that solo? And I kind of was just like, not really.
Yeah, I'm good.
And my friend stopped playing it, so we didn't play much co-op either. And so I kind of just fell off of it. But it's a great game. I love that game.
All right, no, that's very reasonable. Yeah, it's
No strong thoughts. I think it's a good game.
okay. That's
I mean,
fair.
it's a shame. It's a shame what happened with the DLC, but I haven't played it. So
Yeah, it's a shame what happened with the DLC. The DLC was also the exact thing that stopped me from playing the game for a while. Matter of fact, I have a thing written in this video that I'm working on where I was like, hey, this DLC came out and nobody liked it. What the hell do you think? I'm not paying for that DLC. I'm not buying that right now when the game's in the state that it's in. After we had high hopes for the game because it was handed over to another developer and whatnot. And then I was like, that said, I knew that with the new DLC came new music, and I kept seeing stuff from the composer. I kept seeing stuff from his from like an Instagram page that he ran where he was posting little snippets of songs that he was working on. So like 2 weeks after the update came out, I was like, all right, I'm not playing the update, but I will listen to the music. And then I listened to the music and I was like, holy shit, this music is sick. But I still didn't want to buy the DLC because it wasn't guaranteed to like be a functional piece.
right.
So I was like, all right, I'll just wait. And then like randomly my friends were in a call and I was like, hey guys, what's happening? And they were like, well, we're playing Risk of Rain. And I was like, oh, with the down patch version. And they were like, no, the like DLC update's like actually fairly good now. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you have my attention. And so then I bought it. And there was a bunch of new items that were added to the game. A lot of them weren't great. They were really uninspired, but the game was functional and it was still just as fun to play as the base game. You just didn't want to pick up the DLC items if you could afford it because they were lame as hell.
They're not good.
They're not good. One of them was like, when you take damage, or if you take too much damage, you will teleport to a random location on the map, but you still were like liable to teleporting into a bunch of enemies and just dying anyways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, wait, that sounds just like a straight up. I mean, I guess like there is a universe where that could save you, but was that a lunar item or is that just a regular?
No, it was probably like a white item if I'm honest.
Wow. That sounds so annoying. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like even if you are like about to get mobbed and died, like at least me personally, I'd rather just go down fighting than teleport randomly.
Yeah, or I don't know. So like that was the situation for a while. It was kind of just like it's kind of like the base game but with new stages, and don't pick up the new DLC items because most of them aren't worth a damn. But for the last couple months, they've been going through like various patches, fixing enemy AI, fixing problems with new aspects they gave to enemies, actually like updating the items to both make them good or at the very least interesting, even if they are a little bit like bad. They're just at least more interesting. Yeah. So seems like the game's actually like in a good state now, so good for them.
Anyways, fuck Randy Pitchford. That's all I have to say.
Who the hell is that?
That's the CEO of Gearbox.
Oh, what did he do?
Yeah. Oh, a lot of things you don't want to know.
Also, I don't like that when
maybe
I look up
maybe
Randy
you do,
Pitchford,
but he has...
Sorry, you were saying?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the autocomplete result?
The autocomplete result was Randy Pitchford jump scare.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, it could have been a lot worse. Yeah. Don't look up what Randy Pitchford did at medieval times. I wish I laughed as I said that, but I wish that was a joke. Yeah, also, he's just annoying, and I don't like Gearbox.
All right, that's reasonable.
But yeah.
If only we had this discussion much earlier, then I would have had a reason to not have any faith in the Gearbox acquisition of Hopu Games.
Well, yeah, I mean, I, like many other people, was like, oh, this seems bad, but like, I guess I'm willing to give it a shot because I like Risk of Rain 2. And yeah, unfortunately, I guess I can't say the worst case scenario anymore because at least they're trying to fix it. But more or less, the worst case scenario did happen,
Yeah.
which is that they completely fucked the game for a while. The worst case would have been then not fixing it. So at least they're doing that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It really, because I have so many games to play, it really takes remarkably little for me to just drop a game forever. Like I might never play Risk of Rain 2 again, honestly. Um, I don't know. I like the game, but I've kind of like I did what I wanted to do in that game to an extent I was happy with, and then the stuff that got added after I stopped playing does not interest me because of what we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
No, that's
um,
completely reasonable. I know that for some people, like there are some games for myself, and there's some games that I know for other people that like playing the game is a thing that will persist throughout their life because that is their biggest connection with that, and that's what they really like, and I respect that. Risk of Rain is probably one of those games that like if my friends decided they never wanted to play it again or that it just happened to never come up to play again, I
yeah,
probably also wouldn't really play the game myself. Like I enjoy the gameplay loop, but I think it's just a lot more enjoyable with friends. But that said, like I don't really want to abandon the IP. So,
yeah.
but luckily I don't have to because the three things that will stick with me forever through that game are the music because I really enjoy that as we've
Oh
talked
yeah,
about briefly in the past. Um, the video that I made on it, which is probably my best piece of work in my personal opinion.
yeah. It's a great video.
Thank you. And the thing that will literally stay with me for the rest of my life is the tattoo of Mithrix's skull that I have on my arm.
Oh, that's sick. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you had that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's hard having to explain to people. They're like, "Oh, dude, what the hell is that? That looks so cool." And I'm like, "Have you ever played Risk of Rain?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Okay, I don't
If
worry."
yeah, okay. I had a lot of different tangents that I thought about during that. And the first one was the same thing happened to me where with Helldivers 2, where they had that like controversy requiring the like PSN
Oh
login.
God, yeah,
And then I was just like, I'm out. And I just never played that game again since, even though they backed off on that. I was just like, I don't know. Like I like this game, but not enough to put up with that. So I'm
yeah.
done. And then I just never came back. Like my friends just moved on to another game. We just never played Helldivers. Well, I'm sure some of them have played it before, but
It's not as
I don't know.
salient
I
as it
never
once
hopped on it.
was. Yeah,
The second thing was responding to what you said about some people like playing games over and over again, and like that is just how they engage with them, or how they, choose to kind of like cherish those games.
yeah,
Actually, weirdly, made me think of like how my own personal feelings on that because I'm not really like a guy who replays games. Even my hours in something like Ultra Kill, maybe scratch. I haven't looked, but I'm like scratching 300 hours maybe,
yeah,
which is like a lot, but it's also compared to how some people play that game, it's not a lot. And especially it's surprising sometimes to people who are like, wow, you've made all this content on this game, but you only have that many hours. For me, I think the way that I like continue to kind of appreciate a video game after I've played it is to just like talk about it a lot and like
yeah,
share it with other people, which is what makes YouTube such a like uniquely good platform for what I want to do. It's bad in other ways, like just the algorithm. I don't want to deal with that shit, but like
Back on this
but in
again.
terms of like yeah, but in terms of just like having like a platform where I can just like put some thoughts out into the void about like a game. Like I think that is like really because sometimes like I'd love to talk to, my friends about Ultra Kill, but like I tried to get them into it and like some of them played through it once and were like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm just like, oh, what did you think about like yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's cool. Like whatever, Just like, okay. All right, I'm glad you enjoyed it, I guess. I'm sorry I'm not on the I'm sorry you're not on the same level of weird as me.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was another thing. And then we talked about tattoos. And I was thinking about how, like, I've thought about getting, like, some sort of, like, video game related tattoo.
Yeah,
But part of me is always like, if it's, like, immediately identifiable as a video game thing, like, I just feel kind of weird about that. I don't know. Even though it's something I do, it's, like, a hobby that I care about. I just am like, I don't want to, like, be at a bar, like, oh, yeah, this video game? But the one thing I've always wanted to get was the, have you ever played Dishonored?
no, but I know I know your affinity for these games.
Yes. So the main character is like marked by the outsider, who's like this deity that grants the powers that he has. He puts like a symbol on his hand called the Mark of the Outsider, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
really fucking cool looking. I don't know if I would want to get a tattoo on my hand, but like, I don't know. I
that's
think
probably
it'd be
something.
cool.
That's like something you could afford to put like your upper right or upper left chest. You could maybe put it like somewhere
Yeah,
on a bicep. That could be like that
it
could be
is just a cool
decent
symbol, so
shoulder.
it's not. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be on the hand, but like to be like the Mark of the Outsider, that would be on the hand. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's very Final
I'm
Fantasy
also I'm also
looking.
30, and I've been kicking around getting a tattoo since I was like 20. I just haven't done it, so I've resigned also to just maybe I won't ever.
Fair. Uh,
um,
yeah, you. I have, I have what some would consider an excessive quantity of tattoos, given that I've been going only for the last 3.5, 4 years or something.
yeah.
Like my left arm is like nearly covered in them at this point. I actually literally 2 days ago just got back from my 4th out of 5 appointments getting a 3/4 of a sleeve on my left arm. So,
Oh, nice.
but
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like, it's more just like overthinking what I would actually like get as a tattoo. But like everyone tells me it's like, hey, if you want tattoos, just get the first one, and then the rest are like not a big deal after that.
that's kind of true.
But
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm like it's on my body permanently. Like I don't want to get something that like in a year I'm gonna be like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah, there's a YouTube chef that I watch on the internet, and he has he has 3 tattoos on him, and one of them is very inappropriate, but that's okay. He has a tattoo of a spork on his right forearm, and he has a tattoo of a leek on his left forearm because he really respects those 2 things. And when people ask him why he has tattoos and if he's going to regret them later in life, he says like the most profound thing that I've ever heard when it comes to tattoos, which is whether or not I regret them when I'm older doesn't matter because one, that doesn't necessarily matter, but two, the version of me that existed when I wanted to get them is just as important as the version of who I am now.
Hmm.
So I think
Yeah, I like that.
as long as you have a passionate enough reason to want to get a tattoo, even if you just have a really, really, like if you didn't know anything about Dishonored at all, but you just thought that symbol looked really, really cool,
Yeah,
that would almost be a good enough reason for you to just get it. Like,
yeah.
you know, but
No,
like
that's a
it
good point.
being,
Wait,
it being,
who is it? Who is this YouTuber that said that?
his name is, well, so the channel he belongs to is called Mythical Kitchen.
Okay, I was gonna say that
Yeah.
I thought the tattoos sounded familiar. So,
Yeah, he didn't say it on the episode. He runs a podcast as well, and he said it on one of those episodes. And fuck, I don't even remember when he said it because they have like 150 episodes at this point. But he did say it in one of them.
I almost mistakenly said Josh Wiseman, who's another YouTube chef.
No,
It's
other
Josh
Josh.
something, right? Josh. Yeah, Josh
Scherer.
Wiggler. Is that his name?
No,
No,
his
Josh
last name
what?
is Scherer. SCHERER.
Scherer. I was like,
think.
for some reason, I had W in my mind. I was like,
You're still
is it
thinking of Josh
something
Wiseman.
else,
Wrong
W?
Josh.
I guess, yeah. Just, Josh is getting mixed up.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. They're all the same to me. Sorry, I
yeah.
just offended every Josh.
I'm gonna find some like homophobic Josh chef on the internet and be like, "You want to try that again?"
Yeah.
No,
I hate all Joshes. Grr, they make me so mad.
regarding the video game tattoo thing, though, I kind of had the same problem that you had in that regard, where it's like, I'm going to look like a fucking nerd with my video game tattoos on me because I'm also trying to find things that are not easily recognizable from the franchise, but still have importance to the people who do appreciate that franchise. Because I'm going to level with you. I'm a big Sonic fan, and you know how they are. So I have, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 4. Yeah, I have 4 tattoos on me that come from like pop culture media references, but I've tried keeping them all as subtle as I can. So I have the Mithrix skull on my arm.
Yep.
I have I guess this is kind of a twofer actually. I have an Ace of Spades card, decaled with a spider web and the Miles Morales spray painted spider logo on it on my forearm.
Oh, that's cool.
I have the Dark Chow from Sonic Adventure 2.
Wow, this is quite a spread.
Yeah, they're not on the same arm, I swear.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I have is the Swiss or whatever country the coin comes from that the Ultra Kill coin is inspired off of.
Oh, yeah, it's Swedish, I think.
Yeah, it's
isn't
like a Swedish Mark 50 or some crap. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, that's a cool way to do an ultra kill one though.
But like my basic
Assuming that is
idea,
why you got it and not just because you really like
because I really like the
old
Swedish Mark
money.
50 coin.
Yeah.
No, it was after this like after those ultra kill videos and also just like the impact that the music has had on me and whatnot. I was like, I want to have something ultra kill related on my body, but I'm not going to be one of those crazy bastards who puts like the wings, like Gabriel or V1's wings on my back.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that insane. So I'm like, I'll just put the coins on me because the coins are also like one of the most iconic things to the game.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
Yeah, the basic principle for all of these is just that I want them to be from franchises that I really appreciate and really hold close, but not have them scream in the face of other people, hey, this guy is a Sonic nerd, because if I do that, they're going to beat me up.
Yeah, it's not quite like Triforce tattoo level.
Oh, God.
Even that is like, I think the Triforce looks cool, but at this point, I don't think I could reasonably get one. Not only because I'm not like, I do like Zelda, and one of my favorite games of all time is a Zelda game, but I'm not like a Zelda fan like that.
Yeah.
But also just because like I feel like there is a very certain type of person who like gets the Triforce tattoo. Like it's got like college frat bro like gamer energy to it somehow.
Yeah, it's always given me like nerdy gamer energy, but that's also because like I grew up in high school as a teenager on Facebook where I was like friends with a lot of big Zelda fans who would just post Triforce media everywhere, and like they're the exact type of person who I could see getting that kind of tattoo. Not to profile you guys, but
yeah.
But
hey, it's the truth.
Yeah. Point is, the Mark of the Outsider probably actually wouldn't be like terrible if you were ever to like consider getting it more.
And yeah, that's part of why like that I was drawn to that. Not only because the games are important to me, but also because I think it just looks cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's the act of actually like committing to it that is probably the harder part at this point, because I'm just like, I mean, it's money and I don't know.
Yeah, I will say something of that size and that level of probably like line work probably wouldn't cost you too much.
Probably that's true. It could just be black, basically.
Yeah, it probably. Well, actually, I guess depending on like the how thick the lines are and whatnot, it might run you like $200 or something, maybe a little more. But
yeah, that's not too bad.
It's probably fairly reasonable. But where did the?
Oh yeah, I searched it, and the first thing I see is a guy who has it tattooed on his hand. Actually, multiple.
Yeah.
Some of these look fake though. Some of these look like they're just drawn with a marker.
Yeah, I could also believe that too. You know the guy who claims that he got the Wendy's logo tattooed on him, and then like the Wendy's Twitter account was like, "Nice job, you also found the first image for Google on Wendy's tattoo."
Oh.
It's like that kind of.
Oh, he didn't even go the extra mile to like put it physically on his hand. He just photoshopped it on.
Well, it wasn't even that. I think it was like this dude posted a photo of an actual Wendy's tattoo that somebody got on them and tweeted at Wendy's saying that he got it, and they were like, dude, you didn't even bother. Like at that point, it's like you didn't even bother going to like page 2 on Google. Like we wouldn't have found it then.
This kind of reminds me. I don't remember if you and I were connected back when I had my my hit tweet about yellow paint.
Oh yeah, you definitely were. Yeah.
Because for those that don't know, basically, sometime in October of 2023, around when the Resident Evil 4 remake came out, there was just a lot of discourse on Twitter about yellow paint in video games and whether it's good or bad or whatever, blah blah blah. I don't really care. I just looked at my bathroom door and was like, wouldn't it be funny if I photoshopped some yellow paint onto this and just put it on Twitter and said, having some guests over, just want to make sure they can find the bathroom all right. And then I went to sleep because that was like the last thing I did before I went to bed, and I woke up to like several thousand likes. Because that's just how it happens. But some people thought I really painted my door. I was like, first of all, to me, I photoshopped it myself, but to me, it's an obvious Photoshop job. I guess thank you. I did a good job. But yeah, no, I did not paint my door.
It's I like the idea that like the door isn't even fully painted yellow, and yet some people like they don't seem to realize that like, why would I paint my door yellow for a bit but not fully paint it? Or like if I did actually fully paint my door, why wouldn't I have fully painted my door? Why would I have just splattered it?
Yeah. Well, I think to me the most obvious giveaway is on like the left side of it. You can see the paint like clearly like bleeding off and like not blending correctly with the wall behind it. Like it's very obvious that it's Photoshop to me at least, but you know, I work in Photoshop every single day, so
Yeah, it's very obvious that they
um,
removed the yellow paint in the next patch.
yeah, right. No, I did do a follow-up tweet of I can't even begin to find this one at this point because this one got nowhere near the amount of likes, but it was basically like the same thing, but then I added like blood writing on the wall and I added a skeleton with an item. Like, I made it like very over the top, like obvious that it was a joke, but that one didn't quite have the same pull, unfortunately, even though I think it was pretty objectively funny.
You have like 6 replies and 3 of them are just like, you're trying too hard, bro.
Yeah, that is probably the case, but I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I was like, one more. um,
Ugh.
well, did you have any more burning questions for me? Just out of curiosity, because I can derail this if you're in need of another topic.
Oh, well, I had one actual, okay. So there's a few questions I still had in here, but none of them are particularly burning in a sense. Did you open up big picture mode again?
No, you just cut out for a second there, but I don't think you actually asked me a question.
No, that's
I think
Discord.
You were just talking about your questions.
Correct. Yeah. Well, yeah, I had one more question about a game, and then I just have like a handful of random things that kind of have stemmed off of the last conversation we had.
Sure.
I thought it was fascinating to see Balatro get Game of the Year, and I understand why, because everybody and their mother was making media about it. Every like modern band that I followed, a bunch of like big name Twitter accounts, all these crazy people were posting about Balatro. How do you feel about them getting Game of the Year nomination and like kind of almost winning?
Well, they did win Game of the Year at some events. Of course, it was usually more like focused like indie events, unlike the Game Awards. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've like my question, I guess, to people who think it is not deserving is just why not? It's a game, and it had a lot of impact. Why can't it be Game of the Year? I don't know. Was it my personal Game of the Year? I mean, I played more of it than I did any other game. But you know, I've played a lot of Sudoku on my phone, and I don't know if I would call that the Game of the Year.
That was the Game of the Year back in 1969.
I don't know. I think, yeah, right. I think Balatro, in a way, was my Game of the Year last year. I don't know that I played a game that had like a bigger impact on my year. I think when people hear the word impact too, they're like oh, story, music, you know, like beautiful set pieces and cutscenes. I'm just like, I don't know, like it was something to do on when I sat on my couch or when I was on a flight to Italy or whatever, and I just got a lot of value out of it personally. And I think it's well designed. I think it's a really good like kind of textbook case on how to like design a roguelike. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot to like about it. I don't see why it couldn't be Game of the Year.
Yeah, I'm actually I haven't paid attention to any Game of the Year stuff before like 2023.
Oh, Astrobot.
Yeah, Astrobot won. Which on one hand I see where people are coming from for why it should have won or why it did win. On the other hand, I also see where other people came from about like it just being like a PlayStation self-jerk moment. Yeah. But whatever. Yeah. I played Astro's Playroom when I got a PlayStation 5 a couple years ago. I thought it was pretty silly. I didn't really care much about it. Mm-hmm. But I haven't...
I think Astrobot's a little more of like a full-blown game, too.
Rather than a tech demo and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I respect it. Like
it looked really fun.
Any game that wins Game of the Year deserves it.
It does feel a little cynical in that it looks like a Sony ad.
Yes, that was what people were saying.
From everyone I know who played it, like it is actually a fun, good game with very inspired mechanics. Like... So I won't sit here and say that it was undeserving, but it does feel a little weird that like basically a Sony ad won.
Yeah, it's less about the contents of the Game Awards itself and more about like the kind of aura surrounding it in a sense.
Yeah.
But no, I will say before like 2023, I wasn't really paying attention to the Game Awards. And honestly, I don't even really pay much attention to it in general. There's like games that I'll play that year. and I'll see them up for
Yeah.
contender, or I'll see them up for contender in some category, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I sure hope they like perform well in this category. But like the 2 years that I've paid attention to it has just been what feels like nothing but drama. Because 2023, for me at least, it was like the infamous Baldur's Gate 3 versus Spider-Man 2 debacle. And I was like, I played
Oh,
like 4 hours of Baldur's Gate 3. I thought it was a cool game, but it wasn't my type of game. I played the hell out of Spider-Man 2 because I'm autistic as hell for those games. And even I like saw the way people were talking about that game, and I was like, you guys need to stop fucking whining. You need to calm down.
yeah. I didn't even realize. I mean, I guess it's so annoying to me as like someone who plays predominantly on PC that in the year 2025 console wars are still like a thing that dictates the way that people feel and talk about games.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I think you should play on whatever you want, first of all. And even as someone who really likes playing on PC, I just spent $2,000 on a new PC and it was way too much. And I think that it has become increasingly prohibitively expensive to play only or mostly on PC, especially if you're playing like AAA games.
Yeah.
I'm a little different. I'm a streamer and someone who uses my computer for work essentially. So it's a little different for me. But like to most people, it's like get a Steam Deck, get a PS5, get an Xbox, whatever. Like don't worry about it. But to go that extra mile to like fanboy for the corporation that made the plastic box you play games on is really stupid to me. And I know that like exclusives and stuff muddy the water too, but like I just can't. I can't get behind. I mean, listen, it's all down to opinion at the end of the day, but I just don't see how Spider-Man 2 had the same impact as Baldur's Gate last year or in 2023.
Yeah, I think it's just that their fan base is particularly passionate about the thing that they really enjoy. And on top of that, I think it's one of those situations where they had gone 5 years or so without a game in its series when we knew that it was going to be coming. So I'm sure it's probably that in combination with them really enjoying the work done by Spider-Man's main voice actor. But like, even as a person who, like, I swear to God, I think I 100%ed Spider-Man in like a day and a half, maybe 2 days from the point that it came out, because I was like, well, I'm just gonna clear my schedule for this. As a person who only put 4 hours into Baldur's Gate, and I will honestly say, didn't even really enjoy my experience that much, just because I was playing with a bunch of people who played D&D and were playing with me like I knew how to play D&D, and were kind of being aggressive towards the fact that I didn't know how D&D mechanics worked. Even with all of those things compounding together, like, I can't even justify... I can justify Spider-Man, I guess, being in the running because of its impact in some sense, but, like, I would have almost considered the show rigged had it won. Because Baldur's Gate is a fucking project going on, like, 10 years of development, and, like, one singular voice actor in Baldur's Gate put out, like, 3 times as much work for voice acting than the main character in Spider-Man 2. I'm like, I don't get you guys. And for them to claim that nobody had heard of Baldur's Gate 3, I'm like, you guys actually have to be living in like a 100...
real people said that?
Yeah, all of the Spider-Man 2 fans were like...
I think it was huge. Like, I actually have not, to this day, played Baldur's Gate 3. I am also like a D&D nerd though, so the real reason I haven't played it is just because I can't like commit the time to it right now.
This is a lot of time,
because I know it's like a 200-hour game or whatever. I mean, I get it. I played the same D&D campaign for like 5 years, so I get it. But I'm playing all sorts of other stuff. I don't have the time for it. But I do think that like when that game came out, it was like the whole internet was talking about it. I mean, maybe not if you're in like mostly like PlayStation fanboy circles or whatever. But like, yeah, that game had a huge cultural impact in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get where they were coming from when they were doing that. And then for this last year, it was like a bunch of Black Myth Wukong people, which I think the game's cool. I haven't played it, but a lot of them were like, I was back when I still had Twitter while the Game Awards were happening, my favorite thing was watching Astrobot enjoyers like shit on the Black Myth Wukong like copers because they would be like Black Myth Wukong enjoyers will be like, this game won Game of the Year, and then show the most whimsical footage of Astrobot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it'll,
I mean,
what was it? Sorry, one more thing. They were like Black Myth Wukong players be like, this game should have won Game of the Year, and then every one of their like Twitter screen cap footages is always just a cutscene, like it's not even them playing the game.
yeah. Oh my god. My thing with Black Myth Wukong, I'm actually sure that the game is fun and that I'd probably enjoy it. But I didn't like the way that the like culture war type people just kind of glommed onto that, like the grums and like that type of person.
Yeah.
Like really seemed to like that game for reasons beyond like anything that the game was actually doing, within the confines of its actual gameplay and story, and like
within the confines of the
I don't
game.
know. The like, yeah, they put beautiful women in a game and not ugly woke women or whatever. Like, shut the fuck up.
No one's listening to you. Stop.
Yeah. So that left a bad taste in my mouth about that game, even though it really has nothing to do with the actual game. Like, so I don't know. That made me not want to see that game win because a certain type of person I knew was going to be insufferable about it.
Yeah.
But I do know too that the devs of that game said some like kind of weird stuff around the Game Awards, like that they felt like they were owed like a Game of the Year win and stuff like that, and I was just like,
that's weird.
Cringe.
That's very weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's not that important, I guess. Do you have like so far Game of the Year of 2025?
2025. Oh god, not even close. I have I'm going to be honest, I couldn't tell you many games that have come out in 2025 so far. I think about the only two that I know, or I actually don't even know if I don't even know if one of the games that I have on my list have even came out this year. Let me look this up really quickly. This came out. Oh, well, that didn't come out in 2025. Never mind. The only game so far, I haven't even played it yet, but a game that I could maybe potentially see some kind of contender is a game that my friends recently showed me, Expedition 33.
Yeah, that game looks sweet. I think I'm going to try and play that once my schedule frees up a little bit.
Yeah, it is insanely good looking, but at least for me, a lot of the games that I've been playing have been more of the same stuff I was playing last year. My bad, I just punched my fucking pop filter.
Happens. Yeah.
Well, like, no, the games I've been playing, late last year up into this year have mostly been a lot of things that I was already playing last year with a couple of new additions. It's like I'm actually trying to beat Elden Ring finally because I bought the game. I'm going to play the damn game. I've been playing a lot of Balatro. I've been playing a lot of games that are kind of inspired by the Balatro mechanics. So like Ballionaire, a game that came out really recently, Nubby's Number Factory, which is...
Nubby's Number Factory rules.
It's so fucking stupid. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, that's like Balatro, where instead of breaking the game every like once in a blue moon, you break it one in every like 5 runs.
Yeah, exactly. But I've got that on the list. I've been trying to beat Echo Point Nova, and then a lot of it's actually been it's been a lot of like story games ish that I haven't fully beaten yet. Like I haven't beaten a full run of Hades. I'm trying to beat that. I need to beat Hollow Knight for a project. I need to play
for a project, like a video project,
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I have the 2 Ori games to beat, also kind of for the same thing, but also because they were like super cheap and they're like pretty good and people say a lot of good things about them. And then the biggest thing that I've actually kind of been chipping away towards is beating Persona 5.
Oh yeah, dude, that's another game that I like think I would probably enjoy. That one I'm less sure than Baldur's Gate 3. Because I'm not like really into the whole like high school setting. Like I've always found that kind of weird about those games.
That's reasonable.
But I've heard that the writing is good, and that for someone who is not like a huge fan of like turn-based JRPG combat for the most part, that it's actually pretty well done in those games. So
yeah,
I thought about playing Metaphor, but again, that
Same
game
thing.
It turns out is also 100 freaking hours. So
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, the only thing I have with Persona is that Persona 5 is the first one that I've played. And this whole series is the strangest thing to me, where everything I ever see talking about like which of the games is the best is actually genuinely entirely dependent on which game you play first.
yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I know they're like kind of pretty diligently remaking the older ones now, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like just giving a updated way to play those.
Like yeah, more content and
Um,
whatnot. But is there anything else?
all right, so no definitive answer for Game of the Year 2025
Correct,
so
yeah. I
far.
think it's that I have too many games that I need to complete that I can't like see myself putting money into into another game yet until I beat some of these games. But then I say that
Hmm.
and then I proceed to like not fully go through and beat them. And then somebody convinces me to go get something else that is also not made in 2025, thus also not Game of the Year contender. So
Yeah. Uh, that, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I just got into that game Schedule One, where you just
oh.
like it's not my game of the year, but like it is weirdly addicting. Like sort of like its subject matter. I just am like I'm like okay, yeah, maybe I buy it, play with my friends for a few hours, we have a little fun making drugs, haha, whatever. And then like and then we did that for one night, played like 4 or 5 hours, and I'm like, I'm not ready to be done. And I started up a single player and just kept playing. I was like, God damn it. Now I'm like sucked into another game. But no, the real game that I've been like chipping away at and is so far my favorite game of the year is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
That is such a
Um,
fucking strong contender, even as a person who doesn't play those games.
it's remarkable. I mean, it's especially because I mean that studio that made that game is probably like AAA size now, but when they made the first game, they were like 30 people or something. And the first game is beautiful, wonderful, jank as hell, broken. Like it's not at all quite where they wanted it to be. But the second game is like they basically just fixed all that shit, made a bigger game and a better written game, and like it's so good. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Will that win Game of the Year? I'm not sure. I feel like it's weirdly like I know it sounds weird because like Balatro was nominated last year and stuff. I feel like the studio that made that is like not they're not like corporate enough to win. Like
Yeah.
I think they're under technically Embracer, which honestly props to them for just surviving the layoffs. Let's see. Deep Silver. I don't really know much about Deep Silver. Oh, they made Dead Island and Metro. Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
okay. I was not familiar with their game. My bad.
Yeah. So maybe I'm wrong, but it just I don't see like I don't know if I see like well also it came out early in the year. It came out in like February, which I guess didn't stop Elden Ring from winning, but like I don't know if this game had like a Ring level rise like but it was pretty popular. It was more popular than the first game and it's just like really good in my opinion. And I'm getting close to finishing it, but it would be a little surprising to me if something dethroned that, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to try that Expedition 33 game.
to me, Kingdom Come Deliverance kind of feels like a watered down, like slightly watered down situation, like with Elden Ring and with Baldur's Gate 3, where like I
Hmm.
don't know how many people were familiar with the studio that was working on Baldur's Gate 3, and then the game dropped and they just like took the
Yeah,
world by storm. And it's like kind of that
yeah,
Elden Ring
it's
phenomenon without it being tied immediately to a cult fan base that is waiting for the next game to come
yeah.
out.
I think though, with both Larian or whatever they called or whatever they're called that made Baldur's Gate 3, like I did play their previous game, Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2, I guess both of them. And they were pretty good. And so when I saw they were doing a Baldur's Gate game, I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I'll keep an eye on that. But it was weird because it didn't feel like that game really had any. It was in early access for years, by the way, before it actually
Yeah.
released. Like you could go, even up until it released, you could go buy it on Steam and play it. But I didn't see like any hype around it. And then it like released, and like all of a sudden just explosion in popularity. And I weirdly, I was just thinking about this. I think you can trace it back to the cutscene of the person having sex with the bear. And I know you know what I'm talking about too. Because like they were just like, holy shit, that's insane that you can do this in this game, and it went like mega viral. And then like all of a sudden there was all this hype for this game, and I was like, okay, all right, I guess sure we're fucking bears now.
Yeah,
I guess we fucking bears now.
The last guy that I talked to about Baldur's Gate really enjoyed the game, but he put it really greatly when he said Baldur's Gate felt like one of those situations where you were like, oh, it's like D&D, that makes sense, but you know, it's still a video game. They have to make concessions somewhere, but they just never did.
Yeah.
And this is like the prime example of that. Also, I don't know what the bear scene is that you're talking about. I did find it on Google, and I do have it in the background to try and figure out what you're talking about.
Well, it was just like, I remember I didn't even know the game was like finally coming out of early access until I saw like an article that just was like, you can fuck a bear in Baldur's Gate 3 or something like that. I was just like, oh, okay. All right.
What an
great.
article. Was
yeah,
not
sure.
expecting to see that today.
Yeah. And then it was just like, okay, I guess this game is coming out soon. And then, yeah, the hype was just crazy. But yeah, I mean, I also played Kingdom Come Deliverance, the original one. And I was like, okay, it's a little jank, but you know, they have like a really kind of solid vision. And if they in their sequel, they just, you know, kind of build on that, then it should be really good. And that's exactly what they did. And it was. So, yeah, I don't know. I think both of those studios had like the seeds of hype planted, and it just took like kind of the right game at the right time to make it pop off.
Yeah, it kind of just took a little bit of bear sex and then boom, game of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I am excited to see what else comes out this year. I just can't say that I'm going to keep up too hard with a lot of them until I get through these other 200-hour games that I only have the ability to play like once every 2 weeks, it feels like.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm already kind of like, all right, the next big thing is Doom, which I'm expecting to like based on what I've seen. But I'm also kind of like, my most recent frame of reference is Doom Eternal, which I think is like 85% like really good and amazing, and then like 15% just like what the fuck were they thinking?
All they have to do is close the gap.
Sorry, what was that?
I said all they have to do is close the gap.
Yeah, well, and I hope they do, but honestly, Doom Eternal, I've been thinking about it more since I'm writing this video. It's more interesting because it's prickly, I think. Like, I'm like, they could have just done Doom 2016 again, but they didn't. They weren't content to just do that again. And as a result, there's like a lot of stuff that is just like weird and doesn't make sense and that I kind of don't like. But then I think it's probably overall a better game for it. So I kind of hope the same for Dark Ages.
Yeah, no, that's a good hope to have for a game like this, and we'll see if that ends up on the list, I suppose.
Yeah. I kind of had one, like, I figured you were going to ask me a bunch of questions, but I kind of had like one topic coming in that I wanted to discuss that I thought you might have stronger thoughts on than other people that I've talked to this about this.
Oh boy, he comes bearing a question for me.
Just one, but yeah, I think you'll have thoughts on it, especially because your whole kind of like thing on YouTube, or not your whole thing, but like a big part of what you do on YouTube is like soundtrack analysis.
Yeah.
So I have had this conversation before on stream and with people in my Discord, but I like soundtracks. I think they can be really cool art, but I'm also like, I'm not a soundtrack listener, really. Like I don't sit down and I'm like, okay, what am I going to listen to today? And then like scroll through, soundtracks. Like I'm a big music fan in that like I got into music by like finding stuff to listen to on like obscure blogs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm a real like freak of a music fan, if you will. But so for me, soundtracks don't really like do it for me. And I think part of that is just because they feel like a different kind of art than just like music for the sake of music.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just curious, like, what your thoughts are on that. I'm only exposed to like obviously the stuff that you make videos on, so I don't know like what other kind of things you're listening to or whatever. But like I have a hard time getting over that hump, like with soundtracks, to like see them as art in the same way that I view like just regular old music as like like they're both art and they can both be great, but I
They
just
serve
don't put
different
them in the same
functions.
basket, really. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's actually that is a really good question because I will say the statistical majority of the music that I listen to is also just music for the sake of music, created for the sake of
Yeah.
being music. In terms of a lot of the genres that I listen to, I mean, I have my stuff up here. Like I was just listening to shanties on my way home for some reason, but um,
No,
but
based.
a lot of the stuff that I listen to, uh, it's like a certain specific, it's like a specific type of metal. I just slurred
Yeah.
the hell
Okay.
out of my
Yep.
words there. It's like a specific type of metal where it has a lot of like, it has mostly clean vocals, but it'll still have its portions of being a little bit like gritty and grungy. And a lot of the instrumentation will also shift in that same capacity, where sometimes it'll be very clean, it'll be very melodic, it'll be very pretty and beautiful, and then sometimes it'll just punch you right in the uh, dick and taters.
Yeah. Do you know the band Vola?
Vola, I can't say that I do. No, let me.
VOLA. Because
VOLA.
they sound kind of like what you're describing to me.
Maybe they look like the type of band that would make music that I like. So
Yeah.
probably.
Or like the other thing that comes to mind is like Tesseract.
Also, never heard of them.
I'm curious for you to give an example then, because I might know them.
Fair. Yeah,
I'm not like the most versed in metal, but I do have at least a few.
Yeah, I'm not versed in metal. I grew up around a brother who was like really into like really heavy hardcore metal type stuff.
Yes,
And
there is a big difference between enjoying some metal and being a metalhead, and that it's an ocean of difference.
Yeah, he's definitely leaning into the metalhead-ish side.
Yeah.
And I am definitely not. Like I could probably almost name every single band that I have that falls into this category because it's really not that many.
Mm.
I actually have a whole playlist. Where's the playlist? Where's the metal playlist? Here. So one guy that I've been listening to for a long time, like going on 10 years, his name is Jared Dines. He's like a solo artist type person.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of him.
I stumbled
cool.
upon a band on TikTok like last year called Magnolia Park, and they do a bunch of stuff. They'll go from like what feels like pop rock metal ish stuff, and then sometimes they'll like combine like funk with metal. I don't know. They're really weird. I think they like have the burden of being a modern band, and so they just have a lot of modern techniques and
Sure.
no shame.
I think if you said they're a TikTok band too, like they're probably like, and not even in a bad way, they're probably going for like the sound clips, right? Like what are like kind of like interesting moments that people might like to see
Oh yeah,
highlighted
definitely.
in that short form video.
Yeah, that's definitely that was how I initially had stumbled upon them. I listened to a little bit of what is that really all that I have in my playlist right now? Oh my god. Okay. There is one band I was listening to for a while called No Resolve. I think they're like new metal is what they call themselves or something.
New metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a thing. This is interesting because these are all unheard of to me. So
Fair. And then the last thing that I have in that playlist is I have the entirety of the playlist that one of the songs from Ultra Kill came from. The song that plays in the Cybergrind, Hateful by Health. They have a whole album.
Health,
Yeah,
Okay,
the whole album that came from, I have that in my playlist, as well as a handful of other side projects they've done. But that feels more industrial than it does metal, more than anything.
Yeah, very much. I mean, I think I've heard them like lumped in as industrial metal before, but like, yeah, they just sound more like kind of like noise rock or like, but yeah, they're cool. I like Health.
Yeah. So it's like that kind of stuff in the metal genre. I have some bluegrass that I listen to. I have tons of like K-pop that I listen to, synthwave that I listen to.
That's already quite a variety. You went from bluegrass to K-pop. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't have been into K-pop, but my fiance introduced them to me when we were in high school, and I was like,
cool.
I wasn't. It wasn't that I was against it. It was just not. It was very, very different from like the main bluegrass influence that I had growing up.
Sure.
But then I got into it, and now I'm a much larger fan of it. But
I can't think of too much that I have listened to that I would describe as bluegrass, but there is a band from around where I live that is pretty popular called Trampled by Turtles, and I believe they're bluegrass, at least to some extent. They're from Duluth, Minnesota, which is like I'm from Minneapolis,
Yeah.
and so they're the other side of the state. But
Oh, that's so funny. Hold on. I think these guys actually have a concert near me soon.
really,
Oh wait, the concert's sold out. Damn. So it is near me, but it's sold out. Why is it only sold out here and like two other places? What the fuck?
it's probably also sold out in Duluth, Minnesota, for whatever it's worth, if they're even going there, because
Yeah, I could believe
they
it.
they seem to always be playing around there and always be like. I don't think there's actually very many like big venues in Duluth. Anyways, it's not that big of a city.
Fair. They're actually not sold
Um,
out right now, but that's also because they're out until July, so maybe people haven't found out yet.
Gotcha. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I can't say that bluegrass. I am someone who likes to pride myself on having listened to at least a little bit of everything, but bluegrass is like weirdly a blind spot. Like Trampled by Turtles is the only band that I can like conjure up that even kind of bears that tag.
That's fair. Yeah, I only listen to one bluegrass band, and they're only like I think they're only considered bluegrass by technicality because a lot of the actual songs that they have take a lot of heavy influence from like straight up rock. It'll take some inspiration from like like jazz. It'll take inspiration from all things like that. So I don't know that
Yeah.
it counts because bluegrass to me has always felt like a more tasteful version of country in a sense.
Yeah.
And they do have
Maybe even like
moments
a more
that, but-
particular version of country.
yeah, and they definitely have their
It
moments.
hasn't
of
been
sounding
polluted
that
by
way.
like pop music and 808s and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But that said, like I also pride myself on having like a fairly diverse taste in music. Some of it ranges from stuff that is very popular in the media, like Kendrick Lamar being
Yeah.
like the big one in like a hip hop scene, and then I have a bunch of random stuff that like I'll just play around, and people are like, I don't know what this
that's
is or
cool.
who this is.
Yeah. I'm used to that.
Yeah, and I like that.
Um, I so I'm not surprised because I know you're a music guy that you have a very diverse like interest in music. And I think even though maybe we wouldn't align on necessarily all the same things, I think we are similar in that regard because I do also listen to a little bit of everything. And I'm like, usually I feel like when I talk to someone about music and I'm like, oh, I listen to a little bit of everything, like I can if they poke and prod more, I can usually boil it down to like it's mostly like punk and alternative rock type stuff, but it's still a little bit of everything. Like you and I just talked about metal, we talked about at least one bluegrass artist that I can name, but that I do quite like. But yeah, so I guess I'm sort of curious because for me, still the disconnect is like really getting into like the soundtrack stuff, like beyond the just the source media that it came from. But I'm trying to like inhabit the mind of someone who is like they're into music, but they're really only interested in like soundtrack music, which is obviously not you. But I've always kind of been puzzled by that because for me, it's like it could not be more the opposite. Like the soundtrack stuff is cool, but it's there. Like I'm not like really seeking that out outside of just like I play a game and I like what I hear in the background.
Yeah.
But you seem to have a deeper appreciation of it, I guess. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's I would say I probably have a deeper appreciation for it than you do. I don't necessarily know that I have a deeper appreciation for it than a lot of the people who watch my videos. I think I just have the vocabulary to explain it better than they do, which is another thing I pride myself on, is being what I call an annoyingly verbose piece of shit sometimes. But
yeah, as someone who is currently editing a 2-hour long video, I would say I'm inclined to agree that I might fall into that camp.
But I think so. But yeah, I do have I really do have like a deep appreciation for soundtracks made for games, and I think it's because a lot of it is because of the fact that games were one of the first pieces of media that I grew up with. Because when I was growing up and when I was old enough to be cognizant of the world around me, my brother was in his teen years. He was about 15, 16 probably. And he was playing a lot of games. And this was during like the N64, PS1, PS2 era. Like that kind of range. And so I was like playing a lot of games with him. and he was like showing me a lot of games and whatnot. And so because he was a gamer, he kind of turned me into one a little bit. And when I finally got my hands on systems and games that I could play on my own time without the prerequisite of him needing to be there, I developed like just the games that I happened to play, namely like the first couple like Sonic games, the original Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3. What else? Other random like Sega Genesis games that I happened to have at the time. Like that just seemed to be one of those things that stuck for me for a while, was the music that was playing in them. And I think the reason
Yeah.
for that is because it also varied drastically from the music that I listened to growing up, which was mostly the bluegrass music that my parents would play when we'd like go up camping or when they would take me somewhere, or like
Sure.
the rock or the rock that would play in my dad's truck on the radio station he had, or like the pop that would play in my mom's car when she would take me somewhere. So like
Yeah.
the music I was listening to from games was much different from that, and it felt, I don't know, it just felt like it felt more unique and it felt more fun by comparison for me. Uh, so it was just kind of like that for a little while. And
Okay.
then when I was in my like mid-teens, when I was around, when I was in my mid-teens and I had other games, and games were starting to get a lot better and soundtracks were starting to get a lot better, graphics were starting to get a lot better, I still found myself having like a sense of nostalgia for that music, for those really old games I played when I was really young, which I think solidified it in my brain even harder. And then uh a couple more years went by, and it was kind of just me being a casual enjoyer of music that I enjoyed. Maybe I'd occasionally put on like a loop of one of the songs that I really liked on YouTube on my like phone or whatever when I'd be doing something, but it never
Mm.
went beyond that. And then I graduated, and then the pandemic hit, and then I got into content creation because what else was I going to be
Right.
doing? Got copyright
It's
striked
same.
for see, everybody who started from 2020 and beyond, it's all just because of the pandemic, and I won't hear any other rebuttal.
Yeah.
But got into making content, was using music for videos that I was making, got copyright striked for one of them when I didn't think I was supposed to, but I couldn't really do anything
Mm.
about it, so I decided to go learn to make my own music, which gave me like just a warm feeling of knowing that, oh, I enjoy how this music sounds, and also I made it. That's cool. But
Yeah.
then but then it kind of got to a point where like music was really like music that was coming out of certain games was like really good. It was like to the level of music
Oh
that
yeah.
would have been made. It was to the level of music that would have been made just for the sake of making the music, no pretext behind it. And so
Yep.
some of it I really grew an attachment to for that reason. But I think honestly the biggest thing that's allowed me to enjoy a lot of the music from soundtracks is both an appreciation for how well they've done at making the music. Like there's a couple of soundtracks that I've purchased so that I can have access to them if I want to listen to them, which I do go through
Yeah.
phases of doing. And I do that mostly for like just the sheer amount of skill that's come from the people who made that music. It's come from the nostalgia or from the good feelings that's come associated with playing those games, because games are one of like the formative pieces of media that I've consumed all of my life. And then actually being a person who creates music and has occasionally tried to dabble in making music similar to creators and artists and producers and composers that I like has given me a different level of appreciation and a different level of understanding of how they've actually made the thing that they've made.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool. That actually definitely helped me connect some lines and verbalize some things too, I think. Because what I have kind of always had like a hard time with is like I do like soundtracks and I appreciate the artistry, and it's definitely exposed me to music that in styles that I may not have listened to otherwise. But because I'm like music that is made just for the sake of being music and not to serve some other type of media is so important to me that I can't understand. Well, I shouldn't say I can't understand. It obviously just comes down to an opinion, but I can't like put myself in the shoes of someone who like only really cares for soundtrack music. And it's like it's not like an issue, but like I see these videos on YouTube of like, I mean, and like this is ridiculous, but like there's always videos like video game music is better than real music or whatever.
That's a little
It's like, okay,
disrespectful.
okay, buddy. But I've always had like a hard time inhabiting that mindset. But like I think one of the things is you talked about just like growing up with it and like it, you know, sort of impressing on you at like sort of a young age, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. But I think even like you take that a step further, like for you, that fostered an appreciation in music in general that has like grown to this day. But I think for a lot of people, it just comes down to like convenience, right? It's like I like this other source media and I like the way the music in it sounds. And but I just don't know where to even go to like seek out music that I might enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'm sticking with what is just like comfortable to me, which is the songs that I like from this game that I played. And you know, I have like a cynical outlook on that, but I'm kind of like trying to take a step back and be like, that is a way to appreciate music. Like that person is appreciating music where they might not have otherwise. And so maybe I should actually be a little less cynical about that. And you know, I've asked people about this like in my Discord and stuff too. And like, because there was one guy who like really liked the music in Doom, like the new Doom games, like Mick Gordon soundtracks and whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, that's super interesting because to me, like, I like those soundtracks a lot. I think they're really well done. But I'm also kind of like, you can listen to like a lot of popular metal music and it sounds like that. Like, it's not to say it's not unique or that it doesn't uniquely fit Doom. But I'm like, if you like that, there's like a whole world that I could, you know, introduce you to.
Yeah, but they need somebody to introduce them to it. And if they don't,
exactly,
then they're in the Doom pipeline. And while that's not really that big of a deal, like it may be one of those things that people might look at them a little weirdly for. Like it's one thing to be like, oh, this person listens mostly to metal, and it's another thing to be like, oh, this person mostly listens to the Doom soundtrack, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think too, it's like, you know, why do I have to even view it any differently than someone who like listens to like top 40 music, you know, because it's like they're also just listening to music out of convenience. Their convenience is just it's what's on when I drive to work in the car or whatever, right? Yeah. Like it's what comes up when I shuffle like the, you know, recommended on Spotify or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the real like bottom line that I'm getting to is that like people just listen to music that is comfortable and convenient for them, and that I'm a freak in that I seek out weird progressive shit that I like, that I enjoy.
I think it just means
I've kind of always known that intuitively, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it just means that you have like a I wouldn't even necessarily say like a slightly higher respect for the art itself, but I think it's just like you seek a sense of joy out of being able to experience new things, understanding that you may inevitably land on some things that you don't like very much, which it's fair. It happens to all of us. So like, I don't really care, but like, I just know that for myself, like there's plenty of different media through which I consume. There's just tons of media that I consume, and a lot of it contains a lot of different kinds of music. And like music is one of the few things that makes me feel viscerally about certain things, like in a good way. And so like that's what I'm kind of chasing. Although I do say that understanding that when I find what I'm looking for, I am still a creature of habit and will go through the things that I already really enjoy. But it's because I have a really strong visceral sense of enjoyment that I get from certain types of music for certain reasons. And I will also say, like, a lot of different music exists for a lot of different reasons. So while I have my, like, big bombastic metal playlist, I have my, you know, random, like, hip-hop stuff that I like to listen to when I feel like hearing a lot of words in my ear. I also do have 2 different playlists that I have that exist that are just background music, ambient stuff. And a lot of it does actually include, 1, my own music, because I'm a shameless plug, but 2, a lot of like ambient music from stuff like Minecraft, because it's familiar enough to me to kind of just, I don't have to focus on it very much, but it helps me to focus on what I'm doing. And I realize that a lot of a lot of what I've explained and a lot of your outlooks on music and a lot of the explanations you've been given by people in the past, I wouldn't be surprised if at least some of it does kind of come down to an age gap thing in a sense, because people around my
Yeah,
age do
that's
need
true.
some amount of stimulus to get things done sometimes, even if that stimulus is listening to really calm ambient shit in the background or whatever.
No, I get that. I mean, I you saying that made me think of how when I was in college in architecture school, when we would have a project wrapping up, like, you know, they would tell you you're not supposed to like stay in studio all night and like crunch yourself really hard, but like everyone would anyways. I mean, it sucked and like destroyed my like mental and physical health like periodically. But like it was also kind of like a bit of like a rite of passage experience. Like everyone would be in there, you know, staying up, pulling all nighters and working on their projects and
Yeah.
whatever. And when I really needed to just lock in and focus, I had two things I would listen to, and I just want to get your reaction to this. One of those things was the album Blonde by Frank Ocean.
Okay. All right. I've heard a lot of people say that actually.
And the other thing was the Stardew Valley soundtrack.
Yeah.
And so when I was at like my most like kind of like sleepless, like need to lock in and finish this project or I will fail like moments, those were somehow like the two things that made sense to listen to.
Dude, when I needed to like, you ever played? You've played a Nintendo Wii before, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever play? You ever
Yeah,
play?
I'm old enough.
Did you ever play? I didn't even mean that. Did you ever play Wii Play?
No, I'm kidding. Sorry, what? Play
Did
what?
you ever play the game Wii Play?
No, that was like the kind of like between Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, right? Like
Kind of, yeah.
when that came out.
It was at like the Wii.
'Cause
It was
I
at
think-
the Wii Sports time.
Yeah, okay. That had the tanks game, right?
Yeah, it had. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I did play that, but I didn't own it. I played it at like a friend's
That's
house.
fair,
So
okay.
yes, I played a little bit,
So
but yeah.
they had a billiards game in that game, and in that billiards game, they had this really nice, very repetitive jazz track that would play, and like up until I want to say 6 months ago, if I also had to lock in and get shit done, I would just play the 30-minute loop of that. So like,
Yeah,
I
fair
feel
enough.
you. Also,
Yeah.
a joke about music for the sake of it rather than just music that exists for like a game or whatever. The last album that I released is like my best piece yet, and it was explicitly made with the idea that it could theoretically be put in a game, and still it's like mostly like really easy stuff to listen to in the background, but
Yeah.
it's like as good as all the other stuff that I've made that was made just for the sake of making it. So I think that's my other
Yeah,
thing
I
is that
think-
people will make that with the production quality of people making music just for the sake of it because they have the tools to be able to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think like a good just kind of point to spin off from that is that like music, even like really good just music it doesn't get made in a vacuum either, right? Like there's everything is made under like some amount of duress, right? There's some like external pressure to make a thing.
Yeah.
Like, and even if it's just you and your band or whatever sitting down in a room and writing songs and brainstorming lyrics and stuff, like there isn't like, you know, music isn't created through like a chemical process, right? Like you still have to like, you know, you're incorporating ideas and themes and like, so yeah. I mean, it's maybe I am like the one who's like needlessly kind of putting soundtracks in a box when like realistically regular music is made with, you know, not maybe the same constraints, but with constraints, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's one of the other things why I mentioned like the age gap thing, where to me, I imagine like depending on the age that you were at when you started playing games is probably when video game music was in a much different state. And like that was back when people still had the conversation on if video games themselves are a form of art, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised.
Well, yeah, you said what, Sega Genesis?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that much older than you. I was playing like N64.
Yeah,
and
you were like literally the exact
GameCube,
middle ground between me
PlayStation.
and my brother right now. So,
yeah.
but even then, like I remember the games that I was growing up with. Granted, okay, I guess it's because a lot of the things that I was playing were like early 2000s, maybe even teetering into like the late 90s because of the fact that I grew up with a brother 10 years older than I was.
Yeah.
So that's a part of where that came, but it's just a thought. Like, I think now that I'm conscious enough to, uh, like, back when when I was really, really getting into like how good music from video games can be, was like in the mid 2010s, when we had, I mean, like the only real easy example I can give is like some of the Easter egg songs from like Black Ops 2, like Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Zombies, that kind of stuff. Where I was like, wow,
Interesting.
this is this is, you know.
Yeah, that was beyond my time playing zombies, so I don't actually know the songs you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, well, I think too, like if that's something you had to like find and unlock, like there's kind of a novelty to that too,
Yeah,
right?
a little bit.
Like you're being rewarded with like a cool little song.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, I get that.
But yeah, that's
Well, interesting.
hopefully that gave you the answers that you were looking for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm sort of like more like trying to find the like common ground because music is so important to me. Trying to find more of like a common ground with people who really are kind of only like interested in listening to soundtracks. But like, I think even though you have a very diverse music taste beyond soundtracks, I think it was like still kind of helpful to just hash that out a little bit. And I just think hopefully interesting conversation for the listeners out there.
Yeah, it helps people.
Well, and especially like on your channel too. I think that is kind of like something that a lot of people are interested in. And so I'm the outsider looking in and being like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm a bridge from everybody to everything.
Yeah. That's a good thing to be.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part.
Within limits, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Right. As soon as I said that, I was like, well, okay.
Reel it back.
I do like always meeting people through doing this who like kind of just like reach out to me because I'm bad about that. I think though our introduction was I left a comment on your video about like the Ultra Kill community.
Yeah.
Since in some ways it felt sort of like not like a counterpiece to mine, but like almost like a different side of the coin of my like video on a similar topic.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm bad about like being the guy to like reach out and be like, hey, you want to like do something together? You want to make a video? You want to do a podcast? Whatever. So I'm always happy when I find people who are good at like making the connections, because for whatever reason I just sit in my little hole and I edit and I stream and then then I'm antisocial when I stop the stream.
No, that's fair. Frankly, I just have no shame. With a lot of, I'm just like, fuck it. If I'm honest, I've sent emails to people who I really shouldn't have sent emails to, asking them to come on the show, and not because like something terrible is going to happen, but because they have like literally over 100 times the amount of followership that I have on YouTube. And I'm like, that was a bit of a stretch. You didn't have to go and do all that. But like, it's worked out more times than I thought it would. Like if I don't think this definitely didn't happen the last time we talked, but like I emailed Gianni for fuck's sake and was like, hey dude, I really like the stuff that you do. I respect the line of work that you're in. And also like, there's definitely some part about you that like, I want to try and get to understand. Do you want to come on this show? And he, of all people, responded to me and was like, hey, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not going to lie to you. I am not a good representative for like the voice acting community. I feel like I kind of just got here by accident. So like, while, I appreciate the offer, also, I don't know that I'm necessarily like I'm not the best person to bring on a show like based on personality and whatever. And I was like, you know what?
That's
fair.
So funny because that just makes you realize that no matter like what level you get to within whatever you're doing, you will still always suffer from imposter syndrome. And I relate with that heavy, but I'm like, no, Gianni, you are that guy. Like you can be at least. But yeah, I get it. And I've seen him tweet like things like that before too. I got a jump scare one day of Gianni following me on Twitch while I was offline. And I was like, I don't know why you did that. He's never been in my chat before or anything like that.
He must have remembered the time you rated him.
I see you. Probably it was related to that, especially because the short that I made on that has how many views now? 1.9 million views. It's kind of like the diet version of him yelling at Trav guy.
Yeah, that has done insane things for the Ultra Kill community and also for people
Yes.
outside of it.
I didn't even intend for that. In fact, I think those two things happened very close together because he was doing the whole like Gabriel VTuber thing,
Yeah.
and he was making many appearances online in character as Gabriel. And so I think him calling me trash and him just absolutely berating Trav, I think might have literally happened like within 24 hours of each other.
I could honestly
I didn't
believe
even
that.
know that happened, but I saw that and I was like, oh, that's like the way funnier version of what he did to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned a little fun fact when talking with Trav, which is the fact that Gianni was actually following him and like already really liked his content before that whole debacle happened. Which I should have assumed based on the I should have assumed that based on the like the seemingly like the relationship they seemed to have already had during the him getting called cringe thing. But I was just fascinated to see that like Gianni's blown up into this whole big thing that like transcends the Ultra Kill community in some capacity, in some senses. For him to just be a fan.
I mean, most of the comments on that short are not about Ultra Kill. They're about some Roblox game.
Yeah.
Gianni voice acted in.
Yeah, like his second
and they're
most
like,
popular
is this
IP.
the same guy from like whatever? I'm just like,
Sebastian
I'm 30,
Solis
bro.
from
I
this
don't play
fucking-
Roblox.
Yeah, that's like how I have a TikTok that has like 180,000 views, and like half of them are like, "This is that Sebastian guy," and I was like, "Okay,
Sure,
sure, yeah." More
Thanks for the comment.
But-
Yep. Yeah, I don't really. That's where the biggest like age disconnect is for me when people are like asking me to play like Roblox games. I'm just like, I don't do that.
No, I'm not doing that.
It's like, sorry. Yeah.
It's so funny. I have a quick question for you actually here. Do you last time we talked, you talked about how you wanted to make some kind of video, although you weren't sure how to approach it, on the idea of like the internet preventing you from being able to enjoy things like no strings attached. I was curious if that like ever evolved for you or if it kind of was just an idea and then it died.
Yeah, I don't think it ever like really left the like idea phase, but I wouldn't say that idea is dead. And in fact, now that you've reminded me of it, the chance of that video getting made probably went up. But yeah, I mean, I just last year was a weird year for my channel in general because kind of like we talked about at the beginning of this was like I started off the year thinking like maybe I will actually make shorter content more often. Like maybe that is the future of my channel. And I ended out the year being like, hell no, I'm making longer videos less often.
Yeah.
And so, but somewhere in there, I created, I should say, I think there's an important distinction there, a new channel with the intention of uploading more of that like long form kind of commentary video essay type stuff.
Yeah.
And I just got like more busy than I thought over the course of the year. And I had enough things to do on my main channel and whatnot that I just never made a video for that channel. And by the end of the year, I was realizing that there wasn't really anything preventing me from just making that type of content on my main channel.
Yeah.
And it took a real like kind of circuitous route to get there. But I got to the point where I was like, maybe I can just make that type of video on my main channel. But as a result, it ended up with a lot of things that I was kind of like starting to ruminate on for that second channel. Ended up kind of just getting in line for the main channel content. And that was not necessarily one of them that was like, ooh, yeah, that one, that's a good idea. Definitely going to make that one. But it is an idea that is floating out there that you have now reminded me of. So, I still like the idea. I still all the time see, and if anything, it's even gotten a little more like, I don't necessarily want to say pertinent, but like the internet is just like a really nasty place like this past year. And I think more than ever, I think people's experiences of like social media and stuff are just like so negative. Like you go on Twitter, like, you know, I refuse to call it by the other name.
Yeah.
And like once you thinking like, oh, this cool new game came out, and I really want to discuss it and see what people are saying about it. And after you've sifted through the owner of the site doing a Nazi salute, you see like someone like Grum's talking about how it's terrible because, I don't know, because like you can set your pronouns in the game
It's
or
pushing
whatever.
a woke agenda, he says.
Yeah, and like while that wouldn't necessarily be what the video is about, like I think a lot of people can relate to that experience of just being like, where the hell do I even go to just have like a level-headed conversation about a game these days?
Yeah, where
It's
can I
like,
just talk about the game and not like these weird politics that you've inserted within the game
yeah,
that don't actually affect the game itself, and it's just a reason for you to complain on the internet.
I think too, even when you get into like the specifics of a game, there's a lot of the phenomenon of like I tweeted I like pancakes and someone responded, "Oh, so you hate waffles?" Like, no. Not how the fuck it works.
Waffles
Like
ain't
it's
even
just
part
like
of the
everything is
conversation.
like
What the fuck are you talking about?
yeah. Everything has to be this like taking sides. It's why I was like for such a long time avoided making any kind of like Doom content, even though I was like I'm really into the like modern Doom games and I really feel like I have a lot to say about them. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this video. I'm gonna establish at the top that I really like both Doom 2016 and Eternal, and then I'm gonna like go in on them because there are things about both of the games that I don't like that I want to talk about. But I'm making the video out of love, right? Like I'm making it because I like the games, and I just, I'm gonna do like this kind of nitpicky analysis where I talk about all the things I really like and all the things I really don't like. But I just am like, I've seen what Doom discourse can be like, and it scared me off from making a video for like 2 years because holy shit. Some people think you're insane if you like the new games at all because they're just not like, because I don't know, you can look in the third dimension or something like that. I don't fucking know. And then God forbid you express any sort of preference towards one of 2016 or Eternal. Next thing you know, the fans of the other game are talking about how stupid and wrong and dumb you are. But like this is kind of the crux of the issue. It's like aren't we all here because we enjoy games? Like can't we just talk about games without this air of hostility?
Yeah, I don't understand how
I don't
everybody
know.
got so like radicalized in that capacity. It's very strange to me
Yeah.
because it's just like I don't know. I really do love that like screen cap of the tweet where it's like, I like pancakes. Are you? Oh, so you're saying you don't like waffles? It's like waffles weren't even a part of the conversation. Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
It's like people constantly just butting in because they want to butt in, or because like if you have like two versions of the same sort of thing and one group is interested in one side of it and the other group is interested in the other, they're both still going to see content about the other thing because they express interest in Doom, the franchise.
Yeah.
And so it's constantly just opening the doors for stuff that doesn't even go against what they believe. It just happens to not be expressly what they prefer over the other. And they just have a fucking meltdown or something. Like,
I think though that people are seeking out content that makes them mad too.
That is true.
Like, I really do. I think that's totally a thing. And one of my good friends actually just made a video on this topic. Let me make sure I get his channel name right. Yeah. Jimberly Wilbus is his name.
I need to look this up.
And he's if you can't find him, he is, go to my main channel and scroll down to the bottom. He is in my like suggestion box.
Right, cool.
He is a personal friend who also just happens to have started making YouTube content independently of anything I was doing. And he makes good bite-sized video essays, is how I'll describe them. Like, way more reined in and less rambly than anything I make.
Oh, I like these kinds of videos. These are cool.
Yeah. And I can't say that he made the best decisions in terms of like the SEO of his latest video because it's just called like, oh no, he changed it. Oh wait, no, it's literally just, it's called Rage Bait and the thumbnail just says you are stupid and here's why. But the video is about like, why do people like take to Rage Bait? Like why is it like appealing for us to click on Rage Bait? And I thought the video was interesting and I just wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, I have this up right now. I'm definitely gonna watch this after the fact.
But yeah, it's totally a thing. That I don't know. I think people want to be outraged, or either that, or they just like to assume the worst, right? Like instead of like, oh, maybe this person, like, trying to see their perspective or whatever. It's just like, oh, they're just like part of, this, they represent this opinion that I don't agree with, and therefore they're wrong, right? Like,
Yeah. It's oh, there was a specific thing that I was just thinking about that's kind of like it's kind of like they want there's like a couple theories. The first one is that they just want to watch things that make them mad. The second one, which is more optimistic and I like kind of believe in certain spheres but not necessarily in others, which is that because of the way that content has been force fed down our throats, and especially with how like over edited and way too short a lot of it is, it's just trying to cram for time. A lot of people are
mhm,
looking for more long, stretched out, like actually, full of substance things that can often include, uh, like having to do with some kind of discourse in a sense. That's why like hot take videos are really
sure.
popular. One, because people like getting mad. Two, they like seeing discourse around certain things and seeing whether or not they disagree with them. But the third thing is, I think, because a lot of people watch those videos not only to label the person that they're going up against as like being a part of a certain group, but also it's probably because they want to go in there to try and convert people to their side rather than to actually pay attention to what's being said.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't know, though. I mean, I just like, I think I've had to just come to terms with that my experience of the internet is at least just like slightly different than like someone who doesn't, make content and like put themselves out there online. But like I've really had to just get used to like kind of a like constant stream of negativity. Like it's not to say that I'm always getting like hate comments or whatever, but like it is like sort of a thing that like those stick out more in your mind. Like they're more just strong feelings associated with them, and it leads to you just like remembering the mean things that people said or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably broadly true of a lot of things, and not just like comments and interactions and whatever,
Yeah.
like chat messages.
It's kind of like the difference between you as an observer seeing a bunch of negative things being said about a topic or about a person versus being the person who is having those things targeted at you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
experience.
exactly.
But all right, this is the last
But
thing
yeah,
I've
it's all
been.
to say
Oh
I've not thought that much about that video, but it is something I might get back to.
no, that's fair.
Go ahead.
I, that whole thing. I'm a big fan of like these like 30-minute things where somebody's just talking about whatever the fuck. Like I made like a 35-minute video on the state of the team size in a team based game, Overwatch, just because I had particular strong feelings about the way that it was being handled. And the video, for the record,
Yeah.
like didn't get much traction at all. But I do appreciate that kind of like, let me keep it real with you. Let me talk to you about something that may be outside of the sphere of what you typically see me for. And I find
Right.
fascination in a lot of those things. So it would be cool to see you kind of going down that route a little bit with some things that you particularly care enough to talk about. And I wouldn't be
Yeah, I
surprised if it
mean,
was kind of starting with that like white knuckle stream highlight backseating thing.
oh yeah. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that a few times. Like in the past, it's mostly been about like bad decisions that like YouTube or Twitch made that affected
Yeah.
me. Um, but like, I do, I obviously on YouTube, it's kind of like silly to say like I feel like uniquely positioned to say something about this because like obviously every like creator on the website has something to say about this, but like Twitch as well, like when they removed the or not removed, but like destroyed basically the highlight feature.
Yeah.
Like that was something I use. And so I was just kind of like, holy shit, like this has absolutely ruined my video uploading pipeline. Um, and their statement about it really pissed me off because like it basically neglected that anyone could be using it for anything other than just mass storing highlights on their Twitch page that no one ever watches. It's like, no, I got a whole channel built on the back of this feature, bozos. Like, and I know they don't want to acknowledge that people are using it to take content off platform, but it's the reality, right? It brings people back to your website. Hello. Anyways, I could rant about that again, but I don't need to. But yeah, I think even the main channel, like I come back to like, and I don't say this to just be like, well, from here on out, my channel is just going to be a copy of what this other person is doing. But like I talked about Any Austin, who I believe you said you weren't familiar with, but I recommend.
Yeah.
He makes what I can only describe as video essays on topics in video games that no one should care about for any reason whatsoever. But he does so with like a sincerity and an attention to detail that just makes them interesting. And like anything he makes a video on, I will watch because I know it's going to be worth my time somehow, even though it's like his latest video was like, do the pipes in Starfield connect to anything?
Yeah.
And like, I was like, I haven't played this game and I don't really care, but also it's an Any Austin video. So I know it's going to be good. And I watched it and it was good and I liked it.
Yeah, I do love seeing little things like that. There's one really quick one that I keep seeing on my feed that's just called like, how many palm trees are there in Mario Kart? And I'm like, what?
That almost sounds like a Any Austin video, honestly. I'm not sure it is, but
It's very possible. I got to find out now, but you were saying?
yeah, but like, so not maybe that same thing, but like I started and got like maybe halfway through writing a video that is just about like city design in video games, like the actual dissecting the actual like feasibility of the urban design of video games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not really like anything on my channel, but like I also think that's interesting. And I hope at least more people than just me find that interesting when I do get around to making that video.
Yeah,
Because that one almost definitely I will be making.
I'm trying to remember. There was something I had seen that was kind of similar to that. I think it was just like, how safe are these Skyrim cities? Although it was very much just like a silly video of him just like spawning in bears or something in waves of 10 and seeing how well the fucking survivors of the Skyrim towns could fend them off.
Yeah,
But
that's funny. Like, how well guarded are they?
yeah, exactly. Like, how good is their security? How much do their guards get paid? But
yeah, I like that type of thing too. Like, just interesting perspectives. I mean, like, I don't know. I think that like on a long enough timeline, that's probably why like anyone took to my Ultra Kill content in the first place. Like, there was a bit of just like a dearth of Ultra Kill content that led to people just kind of like being interested in any perspective on the game, let alone like mine specifically. But people do continue to watch me. So I have to assume that to some degree, that is because I provide a unique perspective, because I am not like particularly over the top skilled at the game. Nor do I like really make content that really like challenges perceptions of the game or anything like that. Although I have a video coming up like in that sort of vein as well, at some point this year, hopefully. But yeah, so that is kind of like the theme of this year, I guess, for me, is what I've landed on, is like, how do I sort of capture that while doing what is, at least in my mind, a pretty different type of content.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds exciting. I like that. I like the principle. I like the idea of that.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to describe like in a sentence like what my channel is about overall. So I tend to like almost break it down by like eras. Like, I'm kind of like, okay, now I'm entering a little bit of a new era.
Yeah.
And it only exists inside my mind, but I'm like, okay, like these videos from here till probably the end of the year are going to feel a little bit different, and maybe people will notice and maybe they won't, and maybe they'll be like, okay, things are a little different, but this is still what I signed up for. But yeah, I mean, I try to like sit down every year and think like, how do I want to shake things up this year? And then I kind of, the rest of the year is spent kind of doing it.
That, yeah. Seems like it's working so far. That's a good way to kind of look at your content, since again, you at least like it still kind of fits with that thing I said at the very beginning, where there's still a very like prevalent component of your channel, which is kind of just like, there's a bunch of things happening, and the only thing that ties them together is the fact that I'm the one doing it, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's other threads too. Like, you know, I mostly cover like FPS games, but that is also like it in a way a reflection of me, right? Like I'm definitely selecting specifically like kind of fast paced and boomer shootery FPS games to cover, but like I'm not making videos out of obligation either. Like, why did I cover RoboQuest or Frog Monster. Like, it's because I really liked those games. I thought they were doing some stuff that was really unique.
Yeah.
Not because I was like, well, this should get some views, right? Um, and yeah, I don't know. I hope that there are at least some people who care about that. There are clearly, but I mean, I don't know. The YouTube, just the algorithm is really the fickle beast that decides if anyone at all is going to see my videos.
Yeah,
So
the YouTube beast is responsible for determining if this particular era of Dumpster Man will thrive or not, or whether he will be culled.
yeah. Well, and it makes it extra scary to make like, 2-hour long videos because like, I don't want to like count my chickens before they hatch, but like a new video on Doom right around when Dark Ages releases is probably going to do pretty well. But like at the same time, making a 2-hour video and spending so long doing it, like the fact that that video will almost certainly live and die by how many people watch like the first 45 seconds in the first like 8 hours that it's released is very terrifying. Given that I could put so much time into it, only for it to just be like, oh well, sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up that it the watch time retention, like when they drop off and whatnot, is like does not scale with the duration of your video.
I one time had a video, I don't even remember which at this point, but it was one that I was pretty bummed about it not doing well. And like I just happened to look at like the like retention graph and noticed that like 0% of people had watched to the end of the video. And I was like, listen, I can handle getting like a few hundred or a few thousand views less than normal, but that one just hurts.
0% is fucked up.
But then I think that was a glitch because I swear I looked again like 5 minutes later and it was showing like 10%. I was like, okay, whatever, maybe it's fine.
That's the other terrifying
like
thing
in
with
that
YouTube.
moment, like when I'm
analytics?
already feeling down about it, it was kind of like, like
Guess I can't do that again.
And funny enough, I can't remember what video that was, but I swear it ended up doing like fine in the end. like it ended up getting like a second wind and it was all right.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah. Anyways, wow, we have talked now for 3 hours, I think.
Yeah, we sure have. I guess, okay, the last thing I'm genuinely curious about is just those damn guitars that you have, because I saw them in the back of your 17K update video, and I was fascinated by them. Also, I saw my name appear at the end of your most recent Q&A video, and I was like, oh, hey, that's me, I forgot it. Hey, yay! But yeah, what about those guitars in the back? Why do you have them? What are they for? Were you in a band at one point? What's the sitch with them?
Yeah, the situation is that currently they're just interesting wall decoration because I haven't been good about playing them. But yeah, I was in a band in college. I would shout out the name of the band, but I think the Bandcamp page is still up and still has all sorts of personal information about me and my bandmates on it. So I won't do that. But I will say that we were like a kind of alternative, like grunge type band. And yeah, we played a lot of shows in our college town. I played with like, so listen, when I say like bigger artists, it's probably not going to be anyone that you have ever heard of, but perhaps someone who is like in tune with like the genres that we were kind of like running in might know some of these bands. We opened for Knuckle Puck. We opened for Tiny Moving Parts, who is from Fargo, North Dakota, which is my college town. And they're probably the most popular band to have come out of Fargo, at least like in recent years. And we opened for a band called Remo Drive, who's from Minneapolis. And they were pretty big for a while, but they've kind of had a bit of a fall off because their new music is not very good.
Damn, got 'em.
Well, they were nice, but... hey, listen, if your album sucked, I'm just going to call it like I see it. But yeah, and I don't know, I played in a band for like 3 or 4 years. 3 years, maybe, I'll say. And had a lot of fun. And it was just, like time filler in college. I've been playing guitar since I was in like 4th grade or something.
Holy shit.
And yeah, I wish I just had more time to pick it up these days. I think like me and some of my friends have like talked about starting to play music again. Even some of those same friends that I was in that band with. Now, granted, not all of my band members live in the same area as me anymore, but at least a couple of them do, and we've talked about playing music again. So I'm kind of like anything to get me to pick up the guitar would be great. I think even just like maybe if I were to like really get going on like a game dev project, I might take a stab at soundtracking it myself. I mean, I at least have the know-how of like writing music and recording music and stuff, because I've done it.
Yeah.
Although not all on my own, but uh,
Do you think
but yeah,
do you think being in that band had any effect on your current like music habits and enjoyments, or do you think your current music habits and let me try that again. Do you think playing in that band affected your music enjoyment, like genres that you like and whatnot, or did the genres that you like influence the music that you played as part of the band?
it was definitely a little bit of both. Like I think me and the lead singer of our band were like kind of our primary songwriters, and then so I played lead guitar, and our vocalist, she would sing and also play like rhythm guitar. And so we would do a lot of the writing, and then we had kind of a rotation of drummers and bassists. Now it was all like friends that like lived in my college house, that would like, sometimes they would get busy and someone else would step in at like at drums mainly. I think our bassist was the same the whole time. I
It
misremember
might have just been
him
the
being
drummer.
swapped out for someone else. Yeah, I think the drummer changed, but yeah, either way, me and the singer were like the main two songwriters. So I would say, yeah, it was like a lot of our influence on the songs. But yeah, in terms of like going to like the well of inspiration, like I definitely would seek out some different things, and like just some of the bands we played with too. Like for the most part, like I said, we did open for some like touring bands, but like for the most part, it was a lot of just like local shows where like the bill was like 4 or 5 local bands. And in, in Fargo, North Dakota, believe it or not, huge hardcore punk and death metal scene. Um, and so I
Fascinating.
heard a lot of that, and I'm like, this is not like usually it's like music that I'm not like someone who's like, oh, this is way too intense for me. Like I definitely listen to that type of music, but it's not like maybe my main genre. So I definitely think that got me like thinking more about like that type of music too.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, I would say it was more of the my taste influenced the music, or our taste, I should say, as a band.
Yeah.
But mainly me and the lead singer did the songwriting, and so it was a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we did a lot of like, I mean, it definitely prompted me to like when we kind of like honed in on like what the band would sound like. I definitely went on like a spree of listening to some bands that I felt had like really done like that particular sound really well. Like I always said, like broadly, just like, when introducing my band to like my parents and stuff, because they're not gonna know who like My Bloody Valentine is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, we kind of sound like Smashing Pumpkins. Like, Smashing Pumpkins, right? Or like I listened to a lot of Built to Spill, was another band that I listened to a lot of for inspiration. But I kind of just took it from everywhere I could get it.
Yeah, reasonable. I mean, I think
So.
most people do that. It's just a matter, like, it's just, how many of those people are going to turn it into the music they end up putting out there into the world.
I actually think like more and more, and I'm getting this with like, creating content, like writing videos and stuff too, that like, obviously I make videos on video games, but like, I feel weirdly the most inspired when I'm like really into some other media, right? Like I've been trying to read more books, or like even just like life experiences, right? Like I remember last year I spent 2 weeks in Italy with my wife, and I remember coming back and just being like so motivated. Like, but maybe it was just the 2 week break, and I was kind of just like excited to get back. But I have to think that just like going out and like living some life, like kind of it did instill like kind of a new creative energy in me.
Yeah, because there was a whole host
and I
of
think
new
it's easy to,
experiences.
yeah, I think it's easy to just stew in your bubble and like just make art in like a in a bubble, but I think it really requires lived experience to make good art. Not that like, ultra kill YouTube video is art necessarily, but I don't know. It inspiration has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. I've told this now to like 3 other people on this show. In order to be able to expel anything, you have to be able to intake a lot more stuff because it is still a finite resource in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and even just like in terms of you know, being like I don't know how to say this in a way that like won't maybe like immediately offend like half of content creators, but like in order to like be an interesting person that is worth listening to, you kind of just have to like have a life.
yeah, you have
Like
to have a lot of
I'm
diverse
aware of like
experiences.
how easy it is to like to just sit and like pour over Premiere all day and then like play a game and then drag it into Premiere and then monologue over it. But like I don't know, there's something like to be said for living life. It has to factor in there somewhere.
It's just
Even if
being
you maybe don't
multifaceted.
necessarily need it to just talk about like why you like the new ultra kill weapon or boss or whatever. Like it has to help in some capacity. It also the other aspect of this, and this is the last thing I'll say on this topic, is it just living life, stepping outside of your bubble too, does like kind of it does like give you a little bit of a shield from like how shit the internet is too.
Yeah,
It's like I go outside and I'm just like, man, yeah, none of that shit does matter.
exactly.
So yeah,
Literally, it's so silly to say, but it literally is like, dog, go touch some grass if you want to
yeah,
be a
touch
better
some grass.
content creator for crying out loud.
I I think that I think too that too many people are just burning themselves out.
Yeah,
Like I
definitely.
think like you could say my video release schedule is slow, and I would not agree with or not disagree with that. But I'm also like happy with the amount that I work and the amount that I just fuck off and go do other things too.
Yeah.
Like or even just sit on the couch and play Balatro and spend time with my wife. Like, that has to factor in somewhere.
Yeah,
Um,
it took me 3 months to make this video, but you have to account for the amount of time I was sitting there playing Balatro and yapping with my wife.
yep. Yeah. Well, I think your content just isn't going to be very good if you're like just miserable too, right?
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, it seems like that is like a little too common that people like do kind of get in the like there's I won't even like name a name, but it's a content creator that's so big that it would barely even register as me punching up. But like there is a content creator who I feel like is having a very public like kind of crash out right now. And I'm just kind of like, man, that's just sad. Like I just feel like you're having a hard time in life, and I think that sucks. And I think instead of just streaming through it, I think you should just log off. But yeah,
Yeah, crap. There was something I was going to say exactly along those lines, and I just forgot. It's not. It must have not been that important then. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I don't. As a person who like tried going through a phase of constantly putting stuff out all the damn time, I was like, I can't. That's so annoying. Like I'm spending all my time doing this, not doing stuff that I want to be doing as like a dude in his early 20s. Like
yeah.
I'm not even like particularly making any good content. I'm not spending any time learning how to be better at what I'm doing. Like I don't. But to be fair, it was because I was also doing every portion of it. I was doing all of the recording,
Right.
doing all of the editing, doing all of the script writing, like having to go find footage from people, having to go like pull every little thing that I needed to do. This doesn't technically count, but like most of the music that isn't video game specific music in my videos is my own music. I didn't make it for that purpose. It just happens to also be fairly good for it for my types of videos.
Yeah, and it's yours, and you own it.
Yeah, it's which is again like if you guys didn't hear earlier, is the whole reason why I did it in the first place. Like
right. Exactly.
So I'm like, yeah, these people are just putting out stuff every single like week and having it be like crazy over the top with the edits and I'm like, you need to slow down. You need to like get off of the coffee, get off of your energy drinks, go take a nap, go read a book, like slow the fuck down.
Yep. Yeah, seriously.
But
yeah, I mean, I had the benefit or maybe the curse of starting like really getting serious about it during COVID. So I just had so much time to give to it.
yeah.
And then and then all of a sudden I didn't. And then I had to make some concessions, but
it seems like it's at least mostly working out right now, so it's good.
yeah, I mean it certainly didn't happen without some like trial and error, of course, but yeah, we get there in the end.
Exactly.
And in a year or two, I might be like, wow, how was I doing that last year? I need more time to not sit in front of Premiere, or maybe I'm like, hey, I could actually spend more time. I could be working harder.
Yeah, he's gonna go through another era next year.
You never know. Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of a little bit by design.
Yeah, 2026 Dumpster Man could be a completely different beast than 2025 Dumpster Man, even though it's only the month.
I might quit. You never know.
I might just fuck around and leave. Then what are you going to do, huh?
Yeah. No, I don't know. At this point, it would be really hard for me to stop doing it completely. Like, even if I had to go back and get like a full-time job, like 9 to 5, and I just didn't have the time or energy to do it, I think I'd still like squeak out 1 or 2 videos a year.
Yeah, just for the fun of it.
I just like it too much.
Yeah.
There's things I hate about it, but overall, I like
There's things that I hate about it, but if I'm only
line.
pumping out 1 to 2 videos a year, it's likely because the drive to make the video overshadowed the not want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and who knows? Maybe I'll go back through like a period where I feel like making, a 20-minute video every week or whatever. Like I think what is most important is that I've left the door open for that to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not like ever going to be someone like who has a successful 1-hour video and I'm just like, oh, I guess we doing 1-hour long videos now. Or like I have a Ultra Kill video that does well and I'm like, I guess I'm just doing Ultra Kill now. Like that has never been the way I operate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's kind of refreshing to be like, yeah, who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe I will go do something else next year.
Yeah, so the flexibility is the mark of a good creator, in my opinion.
Anyways, did you have any other questions for me? I think
No, that was.
Am I doing my math right, or are we approaching 4 hours?
Not quite approaching 4 hours. We're approaching 3.5 hours, so you're not too far off.
Okay, all right.
You're probably
yeah.
factoring into like the 15 minutes of nonsense we were talking before the fact.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But no, that was honestly everything. So thank you for coming back on again. It's really funny that the reason you reached out to me is because the podcast episode that we did the first time showed up in your YouTube feed.
Yep. Yeah.
It
was a sign from God.
No, literally. If you don't have anything else for me, then I will give you the floor to just plug everything that you're doing.
Yeah, I got my one question for you out of the way.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hi, I'm Dumpster Man. If you listen to me just ramble for like 3.5 hours just now, you probably already have a pretty good idea of who I am. And if you want to go listen to me for like 3 more hours, you could just go to my channel, which is called Dumpster Man. And there's at least 3 hours more of me just yapping over there. Granted, it's a little bit different yapping, maybe different subjects, maybe in a little bit of a different package, but I think you'll probably enjoy it. And that's it. Yeah. Just check out my channel. Maybe my stream too, if you like that. If you like the more off the cuff, impromptu yapping.
Boom. He's got you.
And that's all I got.
He's got you guys covered there. If you're looking for myself, you can also just look up DJ Cereal Sauce on the internet. I do have a link tree basically everywhere. So that's Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, YouTube, Twitch, fucking not Twitter. I deleted my Twitter, but I might have to get another one back. So maybe Twitter in the future. Blue Sky, motherfucking, that's basically it as well. So that's where you can find everybody. The links are going to be in the description. And we're out of here.
Bro listed like every social media and said, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Just 16 social medias, and that's it. Most of those aren't social medias. They're just places where you can find music and podcasts.
Platforms.
Just platforms. Yeah, we're going to head out of here, and we're going to go play some good games, and you guys should do the same.